Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. My name is Preston Jacobs. I live in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Let's talk about some ice and fire. As always, I wrote a book. You know, you know, spent some time on it. It. I think you should read it. Go do that. And then we can talk about that. I think that somebody actually even put in a question about the Dreams of Ghosts and Indians, but I can't spoil too much. But we'll see. We'll see what I can talk about when we get there. Um, so I want to talk about Jon Snow and Ygritte, and this is a really funny um, discussion because people get really, really, really emotional generally about Jon Snow. But this particular discussion, um, I've had in the past, and the first time I came across it, it was a blistering argument between people. It was long before I had a channel. I was on the Westeros.org bulletin boards posting about Ice and Fire, and I came across. I didn't join this discussion, but I came across an individual. I still remember the guy's name. His alias was the real Jon Snow, and he got banned, and so he came back as the fake Jon Snow, and then he got banned, and he came back as like the real fake Jon Snow, and it just kept going on and on. But he had put forward this theory, and he went a little bit further than the questions I'm asking here today. But he was saying that Jon Snow was a kinslayer, which I'm not going to go that far because that implies that not even fetal personhood. This is like there would be like zygote personhood, like life begins at conception kind of idea, which George does not believe because George is pro-choice and things like this. But like, he was putting forward the idea of like Jon Snow was a kinslayer because of this. But let's step it back from the real Jon Snow, the fake Jon Snow's posts. But man, people got emotional and were just like, "You're an idiot. Please shut up. Stop posting about this." And he got banned, and we kept coming back over this random discussion. So, firstly, when Ygritte died, was she pregnant? And weirdly enough, in A Storm of Swords, a lot of discussion is there's a lot of discussion about childbirth and sex and having children, bearing children, that occurs between Jon and Ygritte, about Jon and Ygritte, and such. And for instance, when Jon is talking to, I think it's Tormund, about their relationship, and he mentions, hey, if she doesn't like you, she can just go off she doesn't have to have your bastard. And he gets really angry, and he's like, I'm not going to father a bastard. He's like, whatever, if he doesn't like you, she can go off into the woods and take moon tea and whatever, and you don't have to father a bastard. And he has this specific discussion about not wanting to father a bastard, and thinking about it with regards to his sexual relationship with Ygritte. And then there is a fairly explicit sex scene between Ygritte and Jon, where it specifically describes him like ejaculating inside Ygritte, and holding there, and the two of them holding there and having that moment of like him inside her and the seed being inside her and them like being together, and then them talking about the cave and how we should not leave the cave. So it's so yeah, I mean, Jon Snow, he ejaculated inside Ygritte. He didn't try to pull out. She didn't do any moon tea stuff that we know of. So maybe she was pregnant. It's, you just can't say. You just don't know. But it's certainly a possibility. Though it's never ever brought up later on. Like Jon never thinks about it. Like maybe she was pregnant or anything like that. I love somebody's like, who is Ygritte again? Ygritte's Rose Leslie. Okay. So anyway, there's not much to say other than that. Like Ygritte might have been pregnant. I guess, we'll never know. We'll never know. Now, with regards to whether or not Jon is the one that killed her. Now, here's this weird thing. So they climb the wall. They have their little their little incident with the random man that they kill, and Jon rides off, and they start shooting arrows at Jon, and he gets an arrow in his leg, and he keeps riding, and then later he pulls out the arrow, and he thinks specifically about the fletching on the arrow, and he's trying to determine if the arrow is white or gray, and he can't tell the difference between white and gray. So right there, okay. I mean, I don't know if you've ever picked up a feather from a seagull, which we think of as a white bird. Tons of their feathers are going to be gray. Like it's or if you pick up a feather from a pigeon, which we think of as gray, some of them are going to be white. I mean, it's the same with our own hair. Like if being a brown haired guy that's going gray, like not every single one of my hairs is the same color. Like it's a mixture. Some of my hairs are red, some are brown, some are black, some are white, some are gray. The whole of the color was brown, but it was a mixture of everything. This is one of the reasons why, like, when people dye their hair, it doesn't look natural, because hair in its natural sense is multicolored, anyway. So, we have this scene where Jon specifically thinks about whether or not Ygritte shot him, and he tries to use the fletching as evidence. He can't determine whether or not the fletching is white or gray, and yet he still kind of decides in his head that Ygritte did shoot him. He has no evidence that Ygritte shot him. None. Zero. And yet he makes the jump that she did shoot him. It's a really weird thing. It takes place in Jon 5. Okay. I'll briefly bring this up. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Jon crawled to the shallow stream where the mare was drinking, washed his thigh in the cold water, and bound it tight with a strip of cloth from his cloak. He washed the arrow too, turning it in his hands. Was the fletching gray or white? He can't tell. Ygritte fletched her arrows with pale gray goose feathers. Pale gray. So like, is that gray or white? What? Did she loose a shaft at me as I fled? Jon could not blame her for that. Not Jon would not blame her for it. He immediately decides that she did it. He wondered if she'd been aiming for him or the horse. If the mare had gone down, he would have been doomed. A lucky thing my leg got in the way, he muttered. So for some reason, he jumps to this conclusion quite quickly. Oh no, that Ygritte did actually shoot him in the leg. No fucking proof. None. Anyway, so we then get to Jon. Now, Jon at the wall is shooting with gray feathers in his quiver, and he decides that these are his feathers. But then he runs out of arrows, and he then proceeds to go to different quivers afterwards, several different quivers. Only his first quiver were with his color. And so at the end, this is the fucking horrible thing, is that like at the end, he goes and he finds, so he's only talking about his own fucking, like, only his first quiver was his, which is so ridiculous. So then at the end, he decides it happens in I'm on the wrong thing here. Here we go. So then he comes out to Ygritte, who's been shot, and ice crystals setting on her face, moonlight. It looked as pretty. He wore a glittering silver mask. So the moonlight is brightening things up here. The arrow was black, Jon saw, but it was fletched with white duck feathers. Not mine, he told himself. Not one of mine, but it felt as if it were. So he shot all sorts of arrows, not just from his quiver. He shot many quivers. He runs out. He specifically runs out. And here he tells himself, that's the thing, it wasn't just not mine, not one of mine. His thought, it was not mine. He told himself, not mine. So he wrongly jumps to the conclusion that Ygritte shot him. And then in reverse, he wrongly jumps to the conclusion that he is innocent of shooting Ygritte. So at the end of the day, yeah, we have no way of knowing. We have no way of fucking knowing. It is quite possible that Jon killed Ygritte, that Jon killed a pregnant Ygritte. But the question, the thing is, we just don't have enough evidence. Jon never thinks about the pregnancy. He never thinks about the fletchings ever again, or the possibility that he killed her, or any of that. He just they just move on. But that's it. It's and so as crazy as that kid was that kept posting on this issue and got banned, I will say he made some points. So yeah, not gonna lie, my headcanon was that she was pregnant and Jon killed her just because, of course, George would do that. It's true, but why wouldn't he ever fucking reveal it? It's kind of like the Theon Kinslayer thing, man. Like that's so all right, let's get to a few things here. Now keep in mind, a lot of these early super chats are they got out of order again when they're made before the stream starts. But Horsebane is the hooded man in feasible proximity. Horsebane is definitely in proximity. Horsebane is within the castle. Horsebane Umber is in the castle. The problem with Horsebane being the hooded man is that Horsebane knows that Theon is maimed. He saw Horsebane. He saw Theon when Theon first comes out of his cell. It's Horsebane and Karstark, and so he's seen Theon for a while, and the hooded man is surprised at Theon's condition, and so that's the thing that doesn't fit with Horsebane. Some people think that it maybe is Moore's Umber, that somehow he snuck in and then snuck out and did some things, like snuck in to talk to his brother and then snuck out, which is pretty fucking bold and brazen. I don't know how he'd get past the guards, or how he'd, when considering he's like eye patch and stuff, you'd have to glamour himself or something to get in, or take secret tunnels. So I mean, I have heard the question of whether it's Moore's Umber, that perhaps it was crow's food rather than Horsebane. But Horsebane, he's in the proximity. He's capable of being the hooded man. It's just that the thing that makes him look like it's not him is the fact that the hooded man is surprised at Theon's condition. Here's the Dreams of Ghosts and Indians question. The walking man is in fact a merman. Um, yeah. So this is a reference. So the Sea Peoples um, are an important part of the Dreams of Ghosts and Indians. The Sea Peoples was a civilization, uh, perhaps alliance, perhaps. We're not really sure. We're not sure if they were pirates or refugees or a confederation of different peoples, but whoever they were, they attacked the Egyptians twice, within a 30-year period, um, in the uh, around the Bronze Age collapse. We aren't sure if they are the cause or the result of the Bronze Age collapse or not. They are a mysterious, mysterious group, the Sea Peoples. And I don't want to say that they're just like an alliance. Like we do know that the Sea Peoples had a shared culture. Like they do have, they had similar burial techniques. They would bury their people in these huge, like almost pots with heads on top of them. They'd shoot them into the ground, and those burial pots and various have been found all over the Eastern Mediterranean in different places. So anyway, the Sea Peoples are fascinating historical thing. No one knows anything about them, which is why I think, which is why I became like quite obsessed with them and included them in the book. I mean, they are a major part of, I mean, if not the most major part of the book, but yes. But thank you for bringing up Ghosts and Indians. I appreciate it. Um, yeah. Eventually, I'd like to, eventually I'll talk in more detail about the ins and outs of what I thought about and on what was going on in the background of the mystery of the book. Will Stoneheart send uh, Jamie and Brienne? I want to say J&B Liquor, J&B Whiskey, to retrieve Arya. This is not what we're going to do in the fanfic, but I'm trying to think about the possibility of this being one of George's plans. Like, some people wonder if, because this has been brought up that maybe Jamie and Brienne would be sent to rescue Arya. I mean, Sansa from Vale or things like that. Um, Timeline wise, I'm not sure how possible that is. I mean, Jamie is kidnapped pretty early, so I suppose timeline wise it would be possible for them to suddenly show up in the Vale if you really really wanted them to. Um, but it doesn't seem to be a concern of Lady Stoneheart, which is the difference between Lady Stoneheart and Catelyn, right? Like, Catelyn would be very concerned with the fate with rescuing her daughters, and Catelyn is very forgiving, like insanely forgiving, right? Considering that she releases Jamie and all sorts of other things, and even at the red wedding, she proposes like a peace right before with when she threatens Jingle Bell's life, son for a son kind of thing. So Catelyn would be interested in saving her daughters. I don't know if Stoneheart is interested in saving her daughters so much. She seems much more focused on vengeance, and so I'm not sure if that would be it. Like, could you bring this up and like bring her back and bring back Catelyn? I don't know. I mean, it's sort of, I do see Lady Stoneheart being a kind of Mad King Aerys reborn, just for Brienne's character to kind of go through the same thing, to understand that like these vows that you're bound to, like don't really like they aren't morality in and of themselves. Like we have to choose and decide what our morality is, right? I mean, this is the whole thing. Like Brienne is sitting there getting hung, and she has to choose, right? I understand I've made fun of this before. Like, what's so great about like choice? But it gets into like Sartre and like existentialism, the choice, the important choice of like you choosing your moral code. And so I don't see, like, if Stoneheart tells them to rescue Arya, I don't see what the decision would be there. Like, what's the moral choice anymore? Like, both Jaime and Brienne would be fine rescuing Arya, and Lady Stoneheart would want to rescue Arya. So what's the conflict? What's the conflict? Where's the human heart in conflict? Like, what's the moral decision? What's the rub here? Like, this is very different than like you vowed to do whatever Catelyn wanted, and she wants you to kill Jaime. And if you don't kill Jaime, I'm going to execute Sir Hyle and Podrick. Like, that is a tough fucking bind, right? That's a very interesting moral quandary. It would be a real letdown if they're like, okay, we've got this moral quandary. Why don't we solve it with something that everybody wants to do? Let's rescue Arya. Like, it doesn't fit with me. Like, that's not a tough question. Like, of course we're going to do that. Okay. Like, what, like Brienne was willing to die herself, rather than kill Jaime. She doesn't care about her own life. The thing that drove her to wanting to choosing the sword and doing whatever Brienne's planning on doing is that she didn't want to see Podrick, the innocent, and Sir Hyle get killed. Like, that's who she was protecting, and that's made the whole moral situation very hard. Like, she has her vow to Catelyn. I can keep my vow to Catelyn, or I can die. Well, you want me to kill Jaime? Fine, I'll die. That's not even a problem for Brienne, but it was, no, Podrick and Sir Hyle are going to die. Ah, fuck. Okay. Now I've got to do something fucking crazy. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting, right? What Brienne chooses to do. She's got a very tough moral question. Do you break your vow and kill Lady Stoneheart, or defy Lady Stoneheart, or do you kill Jaime, or do you let Hyle and Podrick die? All these things, So, but what's the moral question? What's the difficult situation if she sends you to retrieve Arya? That's nothing. There's no conflict there. So I don't see it being. I don't see that the direction of them. Like, there has to be tough choices. These have to be tough choices for Jaime and Brienne. As I really appreciate your thoughtful views, how do you feel about the anti-European sentiments among some MAGA? I'm quite hurt to see the hatred that some Americans seem to harbor against us. Grüß. So, how to explain like how I feel about these like MAGA in Europe? So, MAGA people don't really have any fucking like beliefs. Okay, they're kind of a group of I mean, there's a bunch of different ones. There's definitely like people that like idol worship Donald Trump as a human being and just do whatever he says. And then there's people that are just fucking mean and cruel and think it's funny to be fucking mean and cruel because they're very basic, savage individuals. Then there's ones that are led weird places by their religious beliefs and things like that. How they feel about Europe doesn't make any fucking sense. Because on the one hand, the racist ones of them are going to be like, well, we've got to protect like white European culture in America. And the minute you're like, you want white European culture? Okay, let's fucking build some bike lanes and some public transit and bump the tax rate up to fucking 50% and like do all the other fucking things about Europe, all the other things that are European. And they'd be like, no. So they don't fucking make any fucking sense, you know. They're like, oh, but they want to protect white European culture, but at the same time, they fucking hate white European culture. Like it's they make no fucking sense. And so you say like, how do MAGA people feel about Europe? They don't fucking know anything about Europe. Like, had they even, none of them have been to Europe, you know. Had they been to Europe, they you know, maybe they'd have more open minds and they wouldn't be MAGA. Um, they don't believe anything except what they're told to believe by their church, by Donald Trump, by the right-wing media. They have no fucking ability to come to conclusions on their own. And there's nothing that Europeans can do to alter that, because like what Europeans are doing does not affect how MAGA feels in any way whatsoever. Like they're going to come to their conclusions because of right wing media, because of what Donald Trump says, or you know, what their church tells them, or what they think is entertaining and cruel and funny and weird. I don't know, like what's going on in fucking MAGA people's heads. Um, so it's fucking odd. Like it's fucking bonkers crazy. It's fucking bonkers crazy to go anti-NATO, to go anti-Ukraine, to go all these things that are just like, where the fuck is this coming from? How does this help anyone? How does this help anyone? And I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know why anyone would be anti-NATO. Like, I don't get it. Um, like one of my favorite movies is this movie called Barcelona. Um, this director, he did 3 movies: the Last Days of Disco, Barcelona, and Manhattan. Was that what it was called? Um, and it takes place in 1980, and it's these 2 Americans in Spain dealing with anti-Americanism. And he's like, you know, here in Spain, a lot of people are anti-NATO, and the guy's like, NATO? How can anyone be anti-NATO? He's like, I don't know, but they don't even call it NATO here. They call it OTAN. And he goes, OTAN? How can anyone be anti-OTAN? Like, it's just, fucking love, I could love the scene. But yes, yeah, it hurts me. It hurts me to see like my whole fucking country like falling apart, and like very quickly descending, and falling. Like it's atrociously unnerving. It's a weight on my shoulders, on millions of people's shoulders every day, that everything is falling apart like really fast. Like the economy is tanking. The laws are falling apart. People aren't following the law, like the rule of law, and the economy is just, you know, and things that people are saying things and doing things we thought that were unimaginable. Okay. Like Elon Musk posted the other day that public sector workers caused the Holocaust and not Hitler. Like how, like, and this is the richest man in the world, and the man who's like actually controlling the country. Like how can, like, how did we get to this point? I think Donald Trump just posted like, a crossed out pink triangle today. Yeah. He posted like an anti, yeah. So it's just like, yeah, very depressing, but hopefully, and you know, it's one thing for America to fuck up our own country. Like, fine, we fucking deserve it. You know, Americans, we fucking elected these assholes. Let us burn. It was our fucking fault. We had it coming. And it's been a long time coming. Like my whole life, I've just been seeing it get worse and worse. Like the fucking poison in people's minds about their fucking, you know, about the right wing media and their fucking love of their fucking guns and all this shit. I've seen it for a long fucking time. You know, the racism go from subtle to overt and all of this. It's atrocious. But the horrible thing is that we're ruining other countries. You know, that like MAGA movements and right-wing movements of appearing in other countries. Like that fucking sickens me too. It's like, I'm sorry. It's like one thing if we destroy ourselves, but it's like sad to destroy everybody else. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, just feel fucking bad. I feel fucking bad. Here's a fucking fun from the worst things to the funnest things. Was Parmen Crane sent to the Night's Watch? Parmen Crane, Parmen the Purple. You're going for some obscure people. So Parmen the Purple was one of the Rainbow Guard that under Renly, and the character largely disappears. He's like arrested and like we assume he's still in prison at Highgarden, but we don't know if he's been let out of prison or if he's been ransomed. You'd think he'd be ransomed at some point, but we just fucking don't know. Disappearing character, Parmen Crane. I don't think he was sent to the Night's Watch. I think he'd probably be ransomed by House Crane. The thing is, House Crane. I'm trying to remember which, because there's a Crane. Oh yeah, there's a Crane. Right. So Parmen Crane is probably not to be trusted because a Crane was married to Alistair Florent, and thus they assume Stannis follower. In fact, I think Parmen switched to Stannis after Renly's fall. But then again, Meredith Crane, lady attendant to Marjorie, and she's there in King's Landing. So they're just assuming that Parmen is like a Florent supporter. And I suppose if they're trying to take over, considering that, that they're giving, that the Tyrells are trying to usurp and take over the seat of the Florent seat, I could see why they'd want to keep the guy in prison, because he would probably he's probably pro-Florent, who would not be into that. Yeah, I mean, I just assume that he's just still in prison and that they're waiting for the right time or something to ransom him or make some sort of deal with him. But I assume he's just in prison. Now, Fate of Arnell. We're going even more obscure. Fate of Arnell. So, in the Dunk video, I mentioned, this actually brings back to the Dunk video. The Dunk video I just posted this week. I mentioned how Jon won a Clash of Kings, that there's an entire section in there that's clearly like about Maester Aemon's backstory. That's clearly just in there because he had just finished the Hedge Knight. And he was like, I got this information. Let's put it in the same universe. I'm going to shove this Hedge Knight information in here on Maester Aemon's backstory and his relatives. Even though we already dealt with Maester Aemon, revealing him a Targaryen last book, and us bringing up his backstory now is irrelevant, considering he's not even in the fucking story. Like, we go north of the wall, like with everybody. Why are we talking about fucking Maester Aemon's backstory? Clearly just there because he had just written the Hedge Knight. Arnell is another fucking character like this. So Arnell is this knight who is, I think he's mentioned to be a green apple Fossaway, which, oh really? All of a sudden you're talking about green apple Fossaways, like right after the Hedge Knight was written, right? So, and they decide that they're going to send him to treat with Renly. But here's the dumb thing, is they had already sent Alistair Thorne off on a ship to King's Landing to treat with Joffrey. And for some reason, they didn't put Arnell on the same ship. They talk about Arnell like they're going to send him, while they talk about Alistair Thorne like he's already been sent, which is just like the dumbest, like Mormont, what are you doing? Like just have him like get them on the same boat so they can get down at the same time. Unless unless you're thinking that one would be imprisoned or something. Why would they imprison like a Night's Watch guy? Like he should have gotten off in King's Landing and then gone overland down to Storm's End. Considering you can't, there's no good port at Storm's End. Remember, so like if you need to talk, actually Renly's at Bitterbridge. Fuck, Bitterbridge. But yeah, nonetheless, if you're trying to get to Bitterbridge, you'd still park at King's Landing and you'd go over land to Bitterbridge to Renly, right? Arnell should have been on the same ship as Alistair Thorne. It's kind of a fuck up, but nonetheless, Arnell, I imagine, gets sent off, I guess, on a separate fucking ship from Alistair, and tries to make it to Bitterbridge, but Renly's killed at Bitterbridge fairly early, so I'm gonna say that Arnell doesn't make it in time, and so then Arnell is like, "What the fuck am I like?" His fate in the fanfic. I'm trying to just like puzzle through like what Arnell would do, because say he arrives and he clearly doesn't make it to Renly before Renly gets assassinated. What the fuck does Arnell do? He's like, does he desert? Like, what happened to fucking Arnell, right? I mean, he's definitely coming back in the fanfic. Now, I mean, you've gotten me quite excited about Arnell, but I have to like puzzle out like what the fuck this guy decided to do after they find out that Renly was killed. He's like, fuck. And like, where do I go? What does a Night's Watch guy do after he's, Plus he's a knight, which makes me think that they call him Arnell, not Arnell anything. So I don't know how he became a knight without being like highborn. Which makes me think he'd be a volunteer into the Night's Watch, being a knight. But maybe he's a lowborn knight. But still, you'd think he'd volunteer, being a knight. So why would he desert if he was a volunteer? I don't know. That's so weird. Arnell, man. Arnell is quite a character. Yeah, Arnell is probably a very useful political prisoner, considering the Cranes. Yes. Maybe he turns up at Eastwatch with Allard Demon Company. I mean, we could do anything with Parmen. And the same with Arnell. I don't know how we need to get Arnell back. Do we just have Arnell show up back at Eastwatch? I don't know. The books are great so far in the second chapter. Nice. Excited for your Hedge Knight series. I wanted to read it before the show, so I'm looking forward to the deep dive. Like young George R. Martin's writing mind. I like young George R. Martin's writing mind. Yes, George R. Martin's writing. When he was younger, it's not as flowery, but it's a little more edgy. His writing, of course, like Hedge Knight. It's kind of Clash of Kings, a Game of Thrones era. So it's not super young. It's not like reading his short stories, but it's really, yeah, Hedge Knight's really, it's just really good. But yeah, I'll get into that. I'll probably do the first one this week. It's gonna take me a while, considering that, like, just to prepare you guys. I mean, remember how long my prepping for winter series took. Okay. That was, I mean, it was longer, but this is the equivalent of 6 chapters. So to get through the Hedge Knight, I have to do a lot to get through it. Now, I will say it's not as rich, like with secrets as the Winds of Winter sample chapters, where it's like every line you're like, oh fuck, he's making a reference here and there. But try to get through it, but it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot to get through it all. Mm-mm-mm. Ygritte gave birth in between scenes. There's only like 2 or 3 weeks between the sex in the cave and her dying. That's how fast it was. You know, I'm getting all these references to my book. 6 minutes. All right. But yeah, there's only like 3 weeks. Oh, Trey shot Jon. Mm-mm. Um, Remind him of mother figures. Yeah, some people say that like it's more like Nisa, that like right that Jon had to stab Nisa, things like that. But um, yeah, the miller and his wife are dead, so we'll never know the truth. That's true. The only thing close we'll get is maybe Wex explaining something based on Theon's talking in his sleep, which isn't very fucking reliable, right? Like we have no way to know if Theon is actually the father of either one of the children. Um, this is George R. R. Martin's genius. He's figured out the mystery box writing solution by making the solution never matter, and never revealing the answers. And when he does have a mystery that he reveals, he makes that mystery even more of a mystery. Like when we talk about like the Catspaw dagger, and he like reveals it, and you're like, that makes even less sense. Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like what? Or like, the Joffrey murder mystery, revealing it to be Alina. You're like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, what? Mm-mm. Um, are we talking about the Sea Peoples in the book? Because I had a theory that the Sea Peoples were the Greeks attacking Troy. Well, in real history, we know that the Sea Peoples were fairly technologically primitive, so they would actually destroy more. Like when their civilizations, when their settlements are found, and they're found, like for instance on Greek islands, among the Hittites, um, in the Canaan area and in Egypt, like when they did destroy like a more technologically advanced civilization and set themselves up, they were a little more primitive than the people before them. So the Greeks were above them in technology. So Canadian here. How do Americans sit around as their president speaks of annexing their ally for no reason? Seems like moral cowardice. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of cowards here. I think that a bit of it is one, like people are just busy with their lives and don't care that much. I think a lot of people can't afford to protest or things like that. The weather was cold, things like that. There is a big protest coming April 5th. I think there's supposed to be a huge nationwide protest. But yeah, I mean, when people, modernity also makes it like bad. Like people think that posting on Twitter is somehow like protesting and resisting, like not actually doing anything, like changing, posting something on Facebook, changing your profile picture or something like that. I mean, what it really comes down to it is real change is either done through money and donations or taking to the streets. Here's an interesting fact that that is both is a little inspiring, but I think it says any protest that reaches something like 3% of a population becomes successful. Any public protest that reaches 3% of its population, like, ends up being successful. Now, for the American population, that's, you'd need like 9 million people to like go out and protest one day, like, but you could imagine like, it's, like 3% doesn't seem like very much. That's all you fucking need. You just need 3% to take to the streets because everybody else is working or they don't care, right? Or they disagree with you, but you just need 3%. So yeah, I mean, Americans, yeah, we're sitting around. It's it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, Canada is 100% in the right. Trump is 100% in the wrong. It's ridiculous. Like, tariffs are the dumbest thing on the planet. Taking Greenland is stupid. Taking Canada is dumb. This is ridiculous. Canada's like was our number one ally in the world, like number one, and it's ridiculous. So yeah, no, I have no excuse for no excuse for it all. I mean, right now, a lot of Americans are scared and demoralized and don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. So we just need to we need to protest, but we need to protest and donate and vote and things like that, but and stop being fucking idiots and stop listening to the fucking right wing media, which is now all the media. The right wing has captured all of the media. So it's pretty rough. So Sea peoples were probably just Indo-Europeans, to be honest. Well, they have some ideas on which islands and which areas of the Mediterranean that they might have been based on the names. But like I say, I think people kind of established that it was some sort of loose confederation of groups that did culturally. I mean, they were together for at least 30 years. So there was like some unified cultural practices, but they're huge. It's just a huge fucking mystery. I mean, we don't even have like a unified name for them other than the Sea Peoples, because that's what the Egyptians called them. But it's, it's interesting stuff because like it has to do with like, there's the Bronze Age collapse and the tin trade and things like this. Like fucking tin, man, like, but the tin trade and things like this. Essentially like there's plenty of copper in the Middle East, but you need the ratio of tin to copper is so that there's not as much tin in the world as copper, and you need a certain like ratio. And so you need to get more and more bronze, you have to keep expanding out and out to find more and more tin, right? So like the tin trade is going to like Western Europe in order to like get bronze. And the Sea Peoples are happening. And so now the Sea Peoples are probably disrupting the tin trade, which probably led to the fall of bronze and the rise of iron and things like this. It's fascinating stuff. Having reread a Storm of Swords recently, and with the benefit of distance, we are ready to accept that Game of Thrones TV show tended to do more justice to the big spectacular moments than George R. R. Martin managed in prose. Huh. Well, let me think about. I mean, George does things that, with regards to A Storm of Swords, things that I think that the book did well. I think their Battle of Castle Black was quite exciting. But the book's Battle of Castle Black was also fucking really exciting. I don't think there's a better battle written than Jon's like Castle Black stuff. It's really, really well paced. It's a really good battle. So those were both really great. I think that I personally actually I think that the show probably did a better job with the trial, with Tyrion's trial. Um, I think that uh, the trial by battle, like Oberyn's trial by battle with the mountain, they're both good. I think people were really really fucking shocked by by um by the show's version of it because Pedro Pascal was such a likable character that everyone was like, this guy's sticking around for a long time, and then he just gets killed. So I think in some ways the show did a better job with the trial by battle only because Pedro Pascal was so fucking good in that role. I think their trial for Tyrion was more exciting. I think, but I will say, um, the election of Jon Snow, no, like the election of Jon Snow in the book is a fucking million times better than the election of Jon Snow in the show. That was just they dropped the fucking ball on that one. Like something that was so fucking good and exciting. Like Sam Tarley going back and forth and talking with all these people and wheeling and dealing, and then the election happens with the Raven and all the like. Man, the book's version of that is great. It's fucking great. And they just fucking were just like, we're gonna phone this one in. I think Stannis arriving at the wall was better in the book than it was in the show. I don't know why it seemed anticlimactic for me. Some people, I guess, liked it, but it wasn't as much of a surprise and glorious as it was in the book. So I don't know. I'm mixed on it. Because there are definitely some big spectacular moments in A Storm of Swords that that the show did not do, but the show did okay on a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think also Red Wedding, Purple Wedding, oh man, Lysa getting tossed from the moon door. Those were all done pretty well in both. So yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the show did a great job in its third season and some of its fourth season. So it's it is like peak Game of Thrones there. So I'm gonna say it's a tie. I think there. I'm gonna be a complete asshole and be like it's a tie. There are some things the book did better and there's some things the show did better. Um, Can we finish the first book of overanalyzing Duncan Egg before season one comes out? Or are you too busy? And is there no way? And we're going to back to overanalyzing Fire and Blood, or has the show lost the plot? We're getting back to overanalyzing Fire and Blood. Duncan Egg, yeah. I'm going to try to get Duncan Egg done before Duncan Egg premieres. We'll see. I mean, because I haven't started, like that may be really overly ambitious. We will see. We will see. But I think there's certain things that are going to make it easier. One, it's not as dense as Fire and Blood. There's not much to talk about, but also like I don't have to search for visuals because I'm just going to take the comic book. I'm just going to be taking the comic book visuals and using the comic book visuals like the whole time. And the comic book visuals will like follow the story, pretty fucking well. So certain things are going to go faster, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my darndest to get Hedge Knight done before Hedge Knight premieres. For the 7 people that are ready for going over Duncan Egg, the 7 fucking people. Mm, 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 mm. Thank you. I appreciate it, Saren. Jaime was Jon's by awakening. Like when they first met, when he's first like, that's what a king looks like. I mean, what's weird about if you're gonna go with Jaime being Jon's by awakening, it's weird because Jon doesn't go for anyone that looks like Jaime. Like he becomes really good friends with like Gren and Totter and Pip, and none of them look like fucking Jaime. And then he becomes obsessed with Sam Tarly, and then he goes off with redhead Ygritte, and then he comes back and he's hanging out with Satin. The only person, like if Jaime were his by awakening, Jon should be all over Sweet Donald Hill, man. Sweet Donald Hill is the one that looks like Jaime. Like he should be totally in on Sweet Donald Hill. Sweet Donald Hill may be in on Jaime. I mean, Sweet Donald Hill is a suspicious character, but you know, he was like congratulating Jon after the election, and you're like, dude, you were a fucking mutineer, motherfucker. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, Sweet Donald Hill, man, watch out for that guy. But he looks like Jaime. Yeah. But yeah, is Val? I mean, maybe we could argue that Val looks like Jaime. I don't know. My coworker is getting deported because of her visa renewal was denied. She's a great employee, highly educated, and a model citizen. I mean, I don't know the specifics of your situation. It's really sad. Her whatever status she had, I'm not sure. You know, it's why the denial happened, but like I say, we're at a bad point in the country right now. So I don't know why the denial happened or what. But one thing about or she has to leave versus deported. Deportation takes a long time, so I imagine they're telling her that she has to leave rather than deported. But yeah. But yeah, it's, you know, who knows? But we're at a bad situation right now, so you know, it can't be isn't American supposed to be different from Europe? Like, wasn't there a whole revolution about that? LOL. I don't know. It depends what you think the revolution was about. I mean, what the idea was that we didn't want to be ruled by a king far away, and we didn't want taxation. We didn't want high taxes. We didn't want to pay the taxes. That's about it. But you know, obviously, America has a completely different history. We're melting pot. We had slavery. We had a lot of things that made us significantly different place from Europe. So, you know, half the density, not as much public transportation, that kind of thing. So, how do we stop MAGA from spreading in Europe, though? I don't know. I mean, Europe has better laws about keeping funds out of elections. Let's hope it works. Oh, MAGA began in Europe. Now I get the joke because it's Russian. That's because it was began as like Russian propaganda. Yeah. Russia and NATO isn't great. It's just like, how is an alliance between America, Canada, and many European nations of self-protection like a bad thing? It's like NATO's going around like stealing ice cream cones from people. Like what the fuck is NATO doing? Like like NATO? No, NATO's great. NATO's fucking great. I don't understand this. Like, oh, NATO, like NATO is a great, like, I'm sorry, like, haven't we had fucking like relative peace in Western society for um 75 years? I'd say it was fucking great, man. Um let's see here. Reducing 52% of the population to your beliefs is why we think you're the racist ones? You don't know what race means, dude. Like, do you know what fucking race? Do you know what our fucking race is? Like, do you? Who is this motherfucker? Who is this? Do you not know what words mean? Do you like? First of all, like, first of all, like, MAGA is not 52% of the population. Okay, like 75 million people voted for Trump. Like, and it was a 1% difference. It wasn't 52, 51-49 over, like, it was actually less than that. It was like, but nonetheless, like, it was like a 1.4% difference in voting between Kamala and Trump. And so if we, but that's 75 million. Like, the population of the United States is 320 million. Okay. So we talk about, like, you can talk about your 50-50-50 is the situation, right? Because 50% of Americans don't fucking vote. Then of the 50 that do vote, 50% is Republican, 50% is Democrat. So assume, like, thinking that you're 52% of the population is just dumb. But also, you don't know what fucking race is, man. You don't know what racism is. Like, you're like, you. I feel like fucking Sam Cedar sometimes. Did you guys see the fucking Sam Cedar shit? Where the guy, where the gay guy who hated himself is like, he's like, they're hiring black people in government because they get tax write-offs. And he's like, government agencies don't pay taxes. What are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what? And he's just, like, beside himself because he was so dumb. Like, this is the dumbness of MAGA that we have to fucking deal with. Like, when someone doesn't even know the fuck, like, oh, you don't like the way I believe, like, my beliefs. Therefore, like, we think you're the racist. And it's like, beliefs aren't your fucking race, you idiots. Like, how do I fucking explain this? Like, you're so fucking dumb. Like, you're so fucking dumb. Like, this is what we're dealing with in America. Like, why, like, the fucking country is falling apart. Like, they can't even string together fucking sentences. They think that government agencies are funded, that are getting tax breaks and shit. Like, oh my God, like, you're out of touch ideas. It's why we think you're the racist one. That you're not a fucking race. Do you know what race is? Do you know what a race is? Jesus fucking Christ, you fucking moron. Thank you, Scott, for making my point with me. But it's just like, you're like, at best you can call the Republicans 25% of the population, but even that, like, what's the MAGA portion of that? As an American, what do you think of the US to UK special relationship? I die inside whenever our prime minister mentions it. Is that a mutual feeling? Right now, I think that there is no predicting what Trump does on a day-to-day basis. Like, no one can predict it. MAGA can't predict it. Republicans can't predict it. Democrats can't predict it. He's just doing random shit. Okay. No, like, Republicans and MAGA are just, like, shocked at what's coming out. Like, no one, like, they're just like, I don't understand why he would betray Ukraine. I don't understand why he'd do these tariffs. Like, why is he trying to destroy the country? Like, now, and then they go, well, but I got to support him because they're fucking cowards, right? because they fucking want to profit, or they, they want to, you know, um, or they don't have any thoughts for themselves, So no, like at this point, there's no US UK special relationship anymore. Like, no, there's like, what, I mean, your prime minister is trying to, it's like that Star Trek, Twilight Zone episode. It's it's with the little boy who's omnipotent, and everyone's like, "You're doing great, because they don't want to have him a meltdown and send him out to the field. Like the most famous Twilight Zone episode. It's like that. He just doesn't. They want to somehow, they don't want to get Trump on their bad side, and so they're just saying the emperor has some clothes here so that they don't get slapped with a tariff or something, because the EU just got slapped with tariffs, and so the UK is like, oh no, we're gonna have special relationships. It's like it's wormsy. It's very wormy. Like just being like, because they don't want tariffs, right? That's it. But it's pretty fucking like spineless too. Like I'm saying, all of this stuff is spineless. All right, American politicians, British politicians, you're all like, it's all fucking spineless right now. Um, mm, 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 mm. Da, 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 da. Wheel of Time is poo. I've been watching Wheel of Time. I'm not done with it all, but like the 3 episodes that are out, it's I mean, our standards are so high these days. If Wheel of Time, it's first of all, it's very apparent they spent a lot of fucking money on this season. Oh my god, it's just special effects all day long. But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know if I'd say poo. I would not say poo. Would Arnell try to pick up some conscripts, then return to the wall? Could be trying to get them somewhere other than King's Landing. Yeah, I mean, you'd think that like Arnell would. The thing is, he doesn't have the thing with Yoren has like connections, right? He knows people, and then he just like empties their cells. Like, can Arnell do the same thing? Can he just show up at places and be like, empty your fucking, I'm taking people on the watch, like empty your jail cells and come on with me. And then he's like walking. Does he suddenly go into Yoren mode and become like Yoren? I don't know. Like, I don't know what Arnell is doing, or did he just get hit by an arrow, like walking and he's dead. Like, we have no idea what happens to Arnell. Is Arnell steals Renly's army, wears back to save the watch. Yeah, Arnell is the one that's coming out of the tree at the end and killing the fucking Night King. It's not. They gave that role to Arya. It was really Arnell. George R. Martin would be like, their names are similar. Oh, Preston says, do you believe Jock hid the Bravosi coin up his bum? Where do you think he also hid the basilisk venom? I'm so torn on the basilisk venom, because like it's a bad fucking like I don't know, like it's obviously popped in there because George wants us to go back to A Clash of Kings and make us think about like Jockin's kills, and that's how he did one of his kills. But it wasn't necessary at all. There was like a million, like no one was sitting there being like, how did that happen? Because the dog was just like eating his master or something, right? And it's like dogs do that after their masters are killed for food. It's like not even a thing, but somehow, like George felt he needed an explanation for the dog eating the master, and so he like threw it in. But I guess the basilisk venom has to be up his butt too, because like, I mean, I suppose I'm trying to think. Yeah, because they don't have a maester. They don't go anywhere where they would have like any supplies. So I guess he has to have the basilisk venom up his butt too, with the coin, like a little vial of basilisk venom. This is the idea of, because Jock is found in the black cells. They obviously would have searched him before they put him in the black cells. He gets out of the black cells, and somehow he has basilisk venom and a coin, and so the only place he could have had it is up his butt. I mean, conceivably up Rorg and Biter's butt too. I mean, we had 3 hiding spots. So like the basilisk venom, I wouldn't want to keep the basilisk venom up my own butt. I'd probably, the coin fine, but I would probably put it up Rorg's, like Biter's butt. Like put the basilisk venoms up Biter's butt. And then, yeah, it's a Biter's butt. That's a better explanation. Because he's not going to put basilisk venom up his own butt. That's dangerous. Just put it up Biter's butt. Yeah. Do you plan an updated appendix for the fanfic? There is actually, now as you mention it, there's actually a fan who is doing that. That is keeping that and is doing that as we go along. So there will be an updated appendix with the fanfic, because it is being kept. It is being kept, and so all new characters and everything will be and the status of character will be updated. Yeah, so that is being done. So it'll be in there. So that is being kept. So thank you, Treebeard. Unpex would be goated. It's being kept, man. It's looking good. Hey Preston, love your content. My latest favorite is the boys reading Berserk. Any chance we will get more the boys reading format in the future? Sure. I imagine it's. I love doing stuff with Carmine and Trey. We should probably do a Berserk with the boys this week, considering it's been a while. So hopefully we'll have that. The thing I wanted to do with them is Doorways, because Doorways is hilarious. George R. Martin's Doorways pilot. It's hilarious and it's so fun, and it's so bad. And I think we could probably do that. And I think because it's already on YouTube, it might not get copyright struck. So I think we could definitely do that. I'll ask this week if they'd rather do a Berserk with the boys or a Doorways. It's fucking Doorway. I mean, Trey watched it. I told Trey and Carmine about it, and Trey watched it immediately and was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is so bad. Like, George set down Ice and Fire for 2 years for this. Oh my. And yeah, so hopefully maybe we can get the boys watch Doorways. It's ridiculous. Yeah, modernity isn't stopping the protests in Serbia, Hungary, and Georgia. Though I saw the fucking, like, them use those microwaves to get rid of the fucking crowds in Serbia. That was fucking crazy, man. But good for fucking Serbia, Hungary, and Georgia. You know? Good for them to get into the streets. Americans need to fucking get in there. Can't help but think that this Canada, Panama, Greenland business is all distraction. It does seem like a distraction. Like the minute you're you're angry about one thing and then you're angry about another thing, you're angry about another thing, and then all of a sudden everybody's forgotten about the first thing that you're angry about. Remember when like everybody was saying like women should be angry that about the loss of Roe v. Wade, you know, and now they're just fucking so many other things to be fucking angry about. You know, oh, we're in this post-Roe world, it's gonna be completely different. And now we've got a fucking million things to fucking worry about. Oh, have you ever truly lost everything? A fire, a divorce? I've never lost everything. No, but I will tell you, I had a friend who it's and this is very different than and I'm not comparing it to even like people losing everything in say war and being a refugee and things like that. But I think I've told this story before, but I had a friend who he was married to a Japanese woman for a number of years, and he thought everything was fine. He thought everything was fucking fine. And he comes home one day and she's gone. Dear John letter, and she is gone back to Japan saying that she wants a divorce. He thought everything was fine. He had no hints, not a single fucking hint that something was up. And so he's like super, super depressed. And then like 2 days later, not his apartment, but an apartment in the same building catches on fire. And the fire department like hoses the entire apartment complex. And so everything he owns is destroyed by water damage. Like everything, all of his pictures, all of his books, all of his clothes, smoke, water, like pfft. And like on the one hand, I was like, oh my God, this is like the worst fucking week for him. Because he had his entire life like ripped from him. But at the same time, there's something like weird, queerly liberating. But anyway, there's a happy ending to this story. He's remarried now. Remarried now, has kids, and it's a happy ending for him. But like, it's just amazing that like he lost everything in 1 week. Hey Preston, how's been your self-publishing experience been so far? Do you feel it's been profitable? No, it's not. I mean, profitable in the sense that it's rewarding, but monetarily profitable? No. I mean, keep in mind like the amount of time that you put into like the writing, and then you think about like how much you pay for like an editor and book cover person and things like that. No. Like it's not profitable. I think in order for it to be profitable, you'd have to sell a lot more copies than me, and also just pump books out a lot faster and not pay for like covers and editors and things like that. It's not years ago, and I understand that like this new self-publishing Kindle world is different, and there are people that like make livings out there now. But it used to be that there was only a handful of authors that actually could make a living as being authors, And keep in mind that like George R. R. Martin, for example, was never a full-time author until after, I mean, I guess maybe during after the wild cards period. Like, he had other jobs because he was just like scraping by. He was a starving artist for most of his life. So, I mean, yeah, you get your Stephen Kings. You used to have your romance novel people that could just pump out shit. And I think today there's like Kindle people that can like pump out shit and like make money because they're pumping out content. Like, it's the same with YouTube, content farms and things like that. But no, there's no way would it be profitable. I would have, so I would have to have a much more successful YouTube channel with many more fans who would all buy my book. like, like, you know, 100-fold more. Yes, Pete, did you read your last email? Starfall, Lemon Tree, Glass Flower, sent you a few weeks ago. Will Sweet Robin, Night King, and Chad go over your go over your book? I just got it. Yeah, no, I saw the email. I have to put more thought into it. I mean, I did read it briefly, but I have to put more thought in it to give you a better more detailed answer. As for Sweet Robin, Night King, and Chad, will they go over my book? So people have asked me about like, will I go over my own book, like in the same manner that I say go over a Game of Thrones. I mean, maybe eventually. It has to be a while before I do that. I mean, I think you know, for a while I'm going to have, you know, this first round of the book being out is, you know, the thing, and then eventually, you know, after people stop buying the book, and you know, and like there's just no hope of me selling any more physical copies. Maybe then I you know, I'll release the book for free, and record. I mean, I have the recording, but redo the recording, so that everyone can listen to it online. But we're talking, you know, much time in the future or something like that, just so that the story is out there. A lot of people do the whole like free book because they have like sequel books and things like that. I don't plan on doing a sequel book or anything like that. But as for Sweet Robin, Night King, and Chad going over it, I don't know about that. But there's a lot of detail that I could go into it, talking about like where these ideas came from, how they relate to my own life, things like that. My sister just finished the book, and she had the strange comment where she's like, you know, you forget that like as siblings, like my mind is very much like your mind, and many of these conversations like we've had at some point in our life, and a lot of the things that you've borrowed are from my life as well. So it was a very weird read for me, you know, and so and I was like, oh yeah, because you forget like you do want your book to be emotional and true, but it's weird how so much it can be. Like some people like have told me like they open the book and they're like, yep, that's Preston. You know, like immediately you're just like, well, I am fucking Preston's world and I'm talking to Preston. And, you know, if they're this type of people that get exhausted by me, and there's plenty of people that get exhausted by me, then they're like, oh geez, you know, do I want to be in an entire book of Preston for 300 some pages, you know? So, but I'd like to sometime go over it with people and talk about like everything in it, because yeah, we write what we know, and so there's a lot of truth in the stories in what happened in the book, and there's a lot that happened to me in that book, and there's a lot that happened to friends of mine in that book. Like anything else, you know, you write what you know. Will the Council of 101 and the Dance of the Dragons affect the Dany story? You know, for a long time, I would have said 100% yes to this. I mean, obviously, you know, we're never going to see the end of the Dany story. But for a long time, I think this was brought up, like when, and I think it did have to do with like the fandom did talk about this, and they start talking about like, you know, Jon versus Dany. The problem with the Jon versus Dany is that even outside of 101, if you're assuming that Jon is the son of Rhaegar, he would be in line. And so there's the question of if Rhaegar was disinherited, which according to the World of Ice and Fire he was, or at least, and so Viserys was the heir, and the line then went through Viserys, and Viserys declared his sister his heir by making her Princess of Dragonstone, and therefore the line would go through him. And so the question of like, does 101, so then you could say, well, because Rhaegar's line is disinherited, Dany is now the actual line, unless it's 101, and then all women are put behind all men, you know, and that kind of thing. It gets very complicated because there's so many retcons with the succession, like, and with the Dance of the Dragons and everything, and what's going on here. So I think for a while I would 100% say that, oh, there was going to be a disagreement between Jon and Dany, and that they were like leading up to that. And then the show happened, and there was nothing. I suppose if you're talking about, let's see, if we're talking about Aegon though, Aegon versus Dany, I guess people like in the fanfic, I think I would definitely put in people mentioning the Council of 101 and Viserys and Rhaegar's line being disinherited. Like that has to be brought up. That has to be brought up at least in the fanfic. I don't know if George, because he was just playing around with the history of the dance and everything, if he even thought about it or you know, everything. Of course, in the fanfic, I think Dany's probably going to be a dragon seed anyway, and it's going to be lying about her position. But yes, in the fanfic, it's definitely going to come in. I think George was probably on again, off again about whether it was going to be the Council of 101 was going to make a difference, and was just gardening, putting it in there, and maybe down the line it would happen or not. But when he outlined probably the plot to D&D in that hotel room, he probably didn't think about it. When did Fire and Blood come out? And well, the World of Ice and Fire is World of Ice and Fire comes out in what, like 2014, and then Fire and Blood in 2018 or something. I mean, by then they're writing scripts. D&D probably didn't care. I mean, George left it open. He left it open, certainly. But I think fanfic were putting it in. Well, we got Randall Tarley in the fanfic. Randall Tarley is in the fanfic, man. What? The last chapter, Randall Tarley is representing right and left. Randall Tarley is sitting. He's ruling King's Landing in the Cersei chapter, man. That is you can read that. You can go to that right now. But yeah, no, worked. Love me some Randall Tarley, even though he's such a piece of shit, right? But yes, the Cersei fanfic chapter is out. Randall Tarley is front and center in that chapter. He is representing. What does Satin look like again? He looks like Trey. He looks like Trey the Explainer. Satin looks just like Trey the Explainer. Okay. If you're wondering what Satin looks like, Trey the Explainer. That's what he looks like. There are at least 8 of us Dunk and Egg fans. Yes, it's true. Oh, thank you. Hopefully. You know, my Dunk video, I was expecting people to be like, oh yeah, Dunk's coming out this year. Maybe people are going to like watch this Dunk video. Didn't do that great. You know, I talk about like George sneezing and his sneeze having to do with the winds of winter. It'll get 1 million views, but like me talking about Dunk and Egg, people are like, I don't know. ETA, an audiobook version of it. I don't know where to I mean, I can do it and put it on my Patreon. Probably take me a while to to fix everything I have. Um, but maybe eventually do a second sample chapter. I don't know. Deporting green card holders, attacking national media, independent law firms for speech grievances. Do outlets like Media Touch, Bulwark, BTC survive? Yeah, I don't know if anything survives, man. Like, I don't I don't see a positive outcome here, man. Like, it's um I mean, we might get lucky. Like, maybe Trump will die of natural causes or unnatural causes. Like, that might happen. We might get lucky. You know, um, things are not looking good though. Things are not looking good. I don't know if any of these things survive. I mean, the media has been getting worse and worse. I don't see it getting better. I don't see free speech getting better. I don't see everything is misinformation. I mean, if free speech means misinformation, that's going around. But um, hopefully there's some sort of market. We'll see how long. Thing is, like, I like the new independent media sources that are like Midas Touch that are coming out. There is a market for it, but it's like, how long until they become big enough to where they're noticed and then they're bought out and they're captured again? You know, because that's what happens, right? Like for a while, like Joe Rogan was this independent media thing, and then he gets big and then he gets bought out and he becomes a right wing grifter. You know, everything once you get noticed, you get absorbed into the Borg collective. So it's like they'll all survive, but it's like survive in their present form, um, of like, I don't know. Everybody's depressing me. Um, America's different from Europe. Your shit wouldn't fly over here. Hopefully, I hope you are right. I hope you are right. Europe had slavery, just not in Europe. Sure, that is true. Um, um, if the American government is willing to use force to secure fascism, why is the opposition expected to use only their words and nonviolent demonstrations? I don't expect it. Um, I think there's some people that are out of touch. Like, the thing is, we've lived for a long time in a situation in America where everything has turned out for fine in the end, and the systems did hold together. And so when it finally comes to the point where it looks like they're going to break, people don't believe it, and so everybody's like, "Oh no, we gotta work this out." When it's like sounding the alarm. It's like, it's in a sense, like, we kind of have a historical cry wolf. How many times in your offices when you hear the fire alarm, do any of you head quickly to the exit? Like, I never head quickly to the exit because I have experienced now, um, literally hundreds of fire drills in my life, literally hundreds. And none of them were a legitimate fire that I was in danger and needed to get out of the building for. Right. So when there's an actual fire, like, I mean, I'm a good boy. I usually leave the building during a fire alarm, but it's like, I don't, you never believe that the building is actually going to burn down. And it's like, now the alarm is off, the alarm is going, but we've lived through this whole life where the building didn't burn down and everything was fine. And so a lot of people, it's hard for them to take it seriously. And they think that they can go about their business in a regular fashion. Would you rather be a Dany soldier and Marine, a soldier for Ramsay, or a soldier for Lady Stoneheart? Um, and why? You commoner for every situation. Um, okay, I would definitely not want to be a soldier for Ramsay. Because Ramsay's soldiers, I mean, you have no idea what that guy's going to do. Plus, they're in the middle of winter. It's just a sucky environment. Why would I would not want to be in the north? Okay, so we can like um, we can eliminate him. Okay, we're definitely not going to be with him. Now, with Dany though, I mean, it depends on which soldier. Like, obviously, I don't want to be unsullied. I don't want to be castrated. So, like, can I be a brazen beast? Is that okay? Is that a soldier? I don't think being a brazen beast is that bad. I think I could probably live with being a brazen beast. If I were allowed to be a brazen beast, I don't want to be an unsullied. But now, if I'm forced to be an unsullied, um, or do I have to be like going out into battle right now? Because the only there's some bad choices there. But if I'm with Lady Stoneheart, Lady Stoneheart seems like I'm in the best situation to freely do what I choose. Like it seems like if I want to leave the Brotherhood without banners, it doesn't seem like there's anything stopping me. And the Riverlands right now at the moment, like, yeah, it's getting cold, but it's not the worst place. It's not fucking war torn Marine, and it's not the fucking North. So I guess I guess I'm with Lady Stoneheart here. I mean, being in the Brotherhood of that being in the Brotherhood of that banner sounds a lot better than being in the Battle of Ice or Battle of Fire and in those environments. So yeah. Da, da, da. The Sea People thing regarding geek theories that many of the people's names seem to be cognates of Greek names. Right, but maybe the name's just like what the Greeks called them, and that's where they're getting it from, you know? I mean, probably some of the islands were Greek islands. I'm sure there's some. I mean, they're pretty sure that like the that actually like the Gaza Sinai area might have had some, or at least that's where some of them settled afterwards. But I think some of them might have been from there. Um, Thoughts on the Andal invasion causing the long night? So I have heard about this theory before. So there's a lot of so in general, the Andal invasion and the timeline about everything doesn't really make any sense, right? We hear about Ironborn and Starks using iron swords to keep spirits in their graves and all sorts of things like that. And yet supposedly the first men didn't have iron, and that iron was introduced by the Andals. And then we hear about things like Andal Kings at the Wall with the Rat Cook and all sorts of like weird things like that. That and so all of that is a bit weird, that so the idea that the Andals came in 5,000 years ago versus 8,000 years ago versus 12,000 years ago, we just don't know, and there aren't any written records, right? So the idea that actually the Andals came in a lot earlier, and that it all has to do with the same like alliance. It wasn't just that the idea is that what the first men came over, they had a war with the um, with the children, and then there was a peace, and that peace was fine. And then there was the long night, and then that was fine, and then there was the Andal invasion, and that fucked everything up. It that's a bit weird. I mean, I think there might be something to the idea that the Andal invasion happened earlier. I mean, we have no evidence that it didn't, and that that the peace had happened, and that the Andal invasion and the Andals teaming up with these First Men groups, and the First Men switching sides and betraying the children and betraying their alliance. Like, it makes some sense. I think it made a lot more sense before a lot of the retcons about like the number of werewoods. Like, had they actually burned all the werewoods and everything, I think it made a lot more sense. But I have to really think it through though, because even when you're talking about like the North and like why is the wall built where it is, and why would they keep their werewoods there? If the werewoods were mechanisms for the children of the forest to control human beings, then why, and the Andals recognized this and started burning the werewoods down. Why are the werewoods kept in the North? Even originally. I mean, now they're retconned and now they're everywhere. But why would they even be, all sorts of unknown questions on like why they speak the common tongue in the North when there's no reason to, if the Andals didn't make it that far or whatever. It's all sorts of weird, ridiculous things. So I think I don't know if there is a coherent answer, because I think George probably just wrote a bunch of fucking history and didn't even try to put the pieces together, because he was like, let it be a mystery. And but I think it's a well-founded like question of like, did the Andal invasion happen around the same time as the Long Night? I think that's an absolutely legitimate question to ask, and it's quite possible. So I think there's nothing wrong with that theory. I think it works, because who knows what's going on with the history. I think it makes it very interesting as well. Do Rogue One watch to prepare for Andor season 2. Oh, do I need to watch Rogue? I mean, I guess they're bringing back the android, right? He's coming into it. That's almost too bad, because like when Star Wars is at its worst, it's freaking sitting there constantly paying homage to what came before it by throwing in fucking references here and there. And when it's at its best, it's doing something new. And I stand by this. I stand by it even with like parts of the series I don't like, and like the things in the Acolyte I liked were the things that were new. Like, oh, there's this like company of witches that like, this is new, like all that, like that's interesting to me. Going to a different galaxy in Ahsoka, there's like some fascinating aspects to that. What I don't like is when they're referencing shit like that we've already seen. I think actually the worst moment of Andor is the after credit sequence at the very end of the fucking show, where they show that it's like the dish on the Death Star. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, you had a great fucking season of without the member berries, right? Without the remember this, like shit. I just wish they'd stop that. So it's like I when I saw in the previews that they're shoving in Rogue One stuff, I was like, oh no. But I have high expectations for Andor season 2, considering season 1 was so fucking good. Best show of the year that year. And I often say, there's only been 3 good Star Wars products: Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Andor. And I stand by that. There's like, so this is weird. This other weird fucking thing I've been thinking about today, like crossed my mind. There's this whole set, because we deal with like, we're dealing with fantasy and sci-fi in this like corner of the internet, that there's so many motherfuckers out there that are convincing people to embrace fascism because they didn't like Daisy Ridley in the Star Wars sequels, right? Like there's like profitable people that are like, dude, man, you don't like chicks in your movies? Embrace fascism. Get rid of your healthcare. Like fucking, you know, become a Nazi because you didn't fight. You didn't like fucking Daisy Ridley. Fuck. What, have you thought about fascism? There's a whole fucking sector of fucking YouTube dedicated to this. Very profitable fucking sector of YouTube dedicated to this. So, I think you all know who I'm talking about too. Thoughts on humans surviving the long night because the others needed them for reproduction. Human slaves freed from ice later with fire with doom. So my original thought before the show ended was that yes, that the others required human beings to continue their existence, and therefore they were being offered as sacrifices, either by Craster, either through the Black Gate, and that's how they existed. That there was some sort of agreement, there was some sort of balance. Like somehow Craster figured this shit out. That, you know, that didn't come out from nowhere. It's hard for me to believe that like Craster is just some random wildling and he just fucking figures out that he can have peace with the others by leaving his babies in the woods. Like it's hard for, you know, that's hard. Like just some fucking random wildling figured that shit out. Like, no, there had to be some sort of established practice that people knew about, that was somehow working. And so it seems relatively clear that like that the others do rely on humans for reproduction. Like it's the only way they seem. It's all we've heard about them reproducing. I think they were originally called Neverborns, instead of others. And Craster's wives tell us that that's where they come from. This is where the brothers are. This is where Gilly's brothers are. Gilly's brothers are the others. So I mean, we're told that. But this is. Oh, that humans agreed to this to get out of the long night. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. That like, if you're coming to the end of the long night and the humans are giving up something, there must be something that the others are giving up, you know? Like, okay, we'll withdraw winter from a large area of land in agreement for your babies and things like that. I mean, that all makes sense to me. It makes more sense than even the show, even though the show is supposedly based on George's words and things like this. Like the George's words, I mean, the show seems to be, oh, this experiment got out of control. Like we had built these murder bots. And I mean, you know, like the show is like Terminator, right? It's the Terminator timeline. Like we built Skynet, and we didn't think Skynet would gain consciousness and fucking start killing us, and it did. All right, but it's like, you know, their Skynet system is so odd. Like, why did you build a Skynet system that would kill you too? That would, you know, that would eat human beings and rely on their sacrifices and things like that. It doesn't quite fit, right? Like the Children of the Forest are like, okay, we're losing this war to the humans. What are we going to fucking do? I know. We'll take a human and we'll shove fucking dragon glass into his heart or something. And then he'll become the Night King. And then he'll do what? Like, what's the next step? How did he then get an army of others, right? Like, did he start like sneaking around and stealing babies from villages? And then now he's got a few. And then now he's got this army of others. But how'd they ever get, like, why would they ever be in a situation where they'd start not killing people and not stealing babies. Like how did he get into a Craster situation where everything was fine? You know, like how'd they build the wall? Like nothing. None of it was explained in the show. So I think a big agreement between the others on one side and the humans on the other, where there's a baby swap in exchange for receding winter, and the wall like makes a lot more sense. So it's the Democrats' fault for running Biden. I'm just done with blaming Democrats. Like, stop it. Like, you think Trump isn't senile? Like, I'm just done with blaming Democrats, dude. The person in your house, like, yeah, the Democrats need to do more, but the person fucking up your life is Republicans. They are to blame. They are to fucking blame. Stop fucking blaming Democrats. Okay, it's dumb. Stop it. You're not getting anywhere. Like that doesn't help you. This doesn't help you. There's somebody in your house stabbing you with a knife, and you're like, the problem is the police aren't here. That's not helping you right now. You know, that's not helping you. Someone's stabbing you in the fucking gut. Just stop it. Mm, mm, mm. As PJ as Carmine requested, I really wish PJ would stick to fantasy novels and relax on his lib bullshit. Like, we know Trump is a monster, so was Biden. Ask Gazans, so was Obama. Ask the Afghanis. What is this? What is this? I don't. NATO is a monster. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh my god! Look, Pantomime Horse, man. All right, you've gone too far here. You're fucking crazy. Okay. Um. The First of all, I don't know how many times I have to fucking explain fucking like Biden and Gaza to people. Okay, not a single fucking bullet that was paid for by Biden was used against the Gaza. Not a single it. That shit takes fucking years to make it out there. Okay, now if you want to blame like Obama or something, or previous administrations like Bush, um, uh, you know, Bush, Obama, Trump, like all that stuff, fine. But like blaming Biden for Israel doing shit is dumb. This is again like blaming Democrats for Republicans doing shit. Okay, just stop it. Like Israel fucking did this. Okay, Israel, the state of Israel, not even Israel. I can't blame all Israelis, but like the state of Israel did this. The United States, like, yeah, we supply stuff. We supply stuff to a lot of people in the world. It's horrible shit. It's also the US policy for decades. And every fucking American president has done this. Every fucking one. So like picking Biden out like he's somehow fucking special is just bullshit, and it led to Trump being in office. Okay? I'm not going to tolerate the fucking shit. It was dumb. It's dumb. Okay? It's completely fucking dumb. So no, I'm like, and also like, don't tell me to not talk about politics. Okay. It's just like people pull this all the time. So I'm telling you, like, don't fucking do, I'm going to pantomime horse. I'm telling you now, if you fucking say don't talk about politics again, you're banned. Like, don't fucking do it. That's an instant way to get banned. The way you get banned is compliment Trump and fucking tell me not to talk about politics, okay? Just don't fucking do it. Fucking Biden was a monster. Biden was a fucking fine president. He was fucking fine. He was fucking fine. Jesus Christ. The standards people have for fucking people, man. Oh my God. But also blaming Obama for Afghanistan, like we weren't fucking already in Afghanistan. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're like, it's just so fucking ridiculous. Oh my God. Any third Blackfyre rebellions, thoughts, theories? Not too many. I mean, the third one is the one that's supposedly somewhat successful, right? And this is the one that, let's see. I'm trying to remember. Is that Daemon the Third? And then the fourth is Hagen. Is that the one with the council? I might be confusing things, but we know very little about like the Blackfyre rebellions. But I guess my only theory is that like that the Dunk story, the Cell Sword, would have been about the third Blackfyre rebellion. And I don't know if George really put too much thought into it, other than like how Dunk and Egg's roles might be involved in it, each one. But certainly we just don't have enough information, and I've spent time looking for information on them, and it's just we just know nothing. So it's too bad. Oh, man wear priest, no legs, no red hands, face scars. This we kind of had this idea with the latest Davos fanfic chapter that the kind of based on In the House of the Worm. So George R. R. Martin has this story called In the House of the Worm, where fairly irrelevant to the plot, but like this character that's pretty much Jamie. His name's Annalyn. He lives in this society that they have a dying son, and they kind of live a decadent lifestyle, because it's just kind of like the idea is that we're just going to feast and there's no hope for the future and things like that. And they have a religion where they for some reason worship worms, and their priest goes through a slow transformation where he becomes a worm. And it's disgusting because he's at this point, the priest has had his arms, legs, penis, eyes removed, which is just like, you just imagining this horrible, cruel existence of this like priest where he's been blinded and removed of all of his limbs, and he's just like this worm. And it's just this horrible, horrific, graphic beginning to this story. The rest of the story is not as horrific. I mean, it's weird and interesting, but it's weird how it starts. But anyway, influenced by that, I was like thinking about like the Magnar on Skagos, and whether or not he'd like become if he thought he'd become a werewood, and that he'd go in, that he had a different interpretation of Bloodraven's teaching, so that he would go into the earth and into the tree and things like that. Thank you, Lord Cumulin. Will House of the Dragon and Dunk keep anti-war themes of George R. R. Martin? I think House of the Dragon is doing that. Certainly Ryan Condal's interpretation of, yeah, I mean, I would say that right off the bat, like the Kristen Cole PTSD thing is straight up like an anti-war kind of thing. I think we're definitely going to see more of it as people, we saw all the randos get killed in the sowing of the seeds. I'm sure when she takes King's Landing, Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, we're gonna have a lot of that. So I think Ryan Condal has that down. I mean, I think D&D had that down too. I think they got that much of the story. I mean, D&D made some mistakes, but I don't think they were necessarily wrong on the major themes of the story. And putting that in there. But but Dunk is weirder and different, right? Because Dunk, because it's based on like more tradition, because based on Ivanhoe and things like that, it has a more traditional kind of setting. Like it's definitely include violence when you're definitely not supposed to like the violence, and you're supposed to think that there's this juxtaposition of like how wonderful that Dunk thinks this tourney is going to be, and then how horrible it is in the end, right? And there's also a weird one as well, as they're fighting to keep, they're fighting for these leaders that they think are good, and they're actually kind of all shitty. Like when we meet Tom the Fiddler, you don't think Tom the Fiddler is a bad guy, and yet he's the villain. And Bloodraven is the fucking person that comes in and like, wins in the end, and that's the good ending. Even though, Tom the Fiddler seemed like an okay guy. So it was I don't know how much in the Hedge Knight we're gonna have that. I mean, the Hedge Knight, we have a pretty clear villain who it's just Aryan, who's a fuckhead. So we're gonna feel sad about the loss, but it's a much simpler, more classic tale about good and evil in the original Hedge Knight. I think things get a little morally ambiguous once you get into Sworn Sword, and things like that. So, I pretty love Blake 7. What's Blake 7? Oh, Blake 7 is a British science fiction program. That ran between 78 and 81. Four series of 13 50-minute episodes, so it was a pretty big series for Brits. Considering they get these hit shows and then they're like, okay, we're done after like 2 series. Huh. That's really weird that I've never fucking heard of this. So when there's this really weird, see, this is all gone now, but back in the day when entertainment was very limited, certain common themes, certain ways of getting media ended up becoming really influential. So like syndication, for example, like every human being in America knows about the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch was actually not a very successful show. And yet, but because the Brady Bunch was put in syndication and was played all the fucking time, well, now everybody's seeing the Brady Bunch. The same with Gilligan's Island was fairly popular, but Star Trek was not that popular. It ran 3.5 seasons before it got canceled, but it got syndicated. It was on all the time, so everyone fucking watched it, right? So syndication can like change stuff. So with British stuff, for a while we wouldn't get anything. And then really late at night, sometimes they would play Doctor Who, Monty Python, sometimes Are You Being Served? And then when I was in middle school, they started playing Red Dwarf. And so you get these like really weird like cult followings in America for certain things just based on what random shows were aired in the middle of the night. So this show, Blake 7, I'd never heard of because I guess just we never got it over here. We never got on this side of the pond. But it's so funny, those little things like that. And so for a while we had like, then eventually we now have like a BBC America and stuff like that like gets stuff over to us. But even then, it can affect stuff. Like which things we like. Oh man, still behind. So behind. Okay, trying to beat up. Oh man, we're still talking about Jock and putting stuff on his butt. How about the boys with the boys? It's just the boys talking, or are you talking about what the boys watch the boys? I don't know. I don't know if it would be as fun. Could Jockin's coin venom been given by Varys? If, and this is a big if my theory that the Faceless Men have been hired by the Varys Illyrio team is true, then I think very much then that would be a possibility, and you wouldn't necessarily need to have the search. You wouldn't need things up the butt. And so this if you haven't heard my theory on this, it's when Jockin makes it to Old Town and he gives the coin to Pate, he bites the coin and he dies, right? But he can't tell what king is on it. And later when Arya's at the House of Black and White, she also finds a coin and she's trying to look at the front of the coin and she can't tell what coin it is. And so there's this question of like, why would they be unable to tell what king is on their fucking coin? Okay. Like there's not that many kings. Okay. It's either Robert or it's Aerys, or a couple of kings before that. It's not that fucking hard to figure it out. So the idea being there is one other moment in the writing where people had a tough time figuring out a coin and who was on the front, and that is Dunk. He runs into a gold dragon in the Mystery Night, and and it turns out it's because it's a Blackfyre coin. And if you look at the time period of when these things are written, Mystery Night is written in Mystery Night was written probably around 2008. It gets published in 2010. And then you figure out like when the prologue for A Feast for Crows is actually fairly before that, right? Prologue for A Feast for Crows is written fairly late. At least certainly the coin aspect of it is. But still we're talking about before its publication, so it's 2005. And then Arya at the house, she's running into the problem because that happens in the Blind Girl chapter. So they've definitely done Cat of the Canals. She becomes blind after Cat. So yeah, those chapters are probably written before Mystery Night, but nonetheless. Um, anyway, the point is the idea that those coins are Blackfyre gold. That she felt a coin that was Blackfyre gold. Pate had a coin that was Blackfyre gold. They couldn't recognize the king, and so this idea that they're getting paid by Blackfyres. And then I took it a step further, and I was like, okay, well, Pate, he seems to be looking for a glass candle. He wants to get close to a glass candle. We find out in an earlier version of the prologue that that's absolutely the case, that he's trying to get close to the glass candle. What does he need a glass candle for? Who is he trying to find? And my theory was that he was looking for Bloodraven because they were originally trying to go to the wall, right? And so, and Varys was putting them in there. So yeah, so could it be? Yeah, yeah. You could save the stuff being shoved up their butt, but uh, 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 uh. Okay. How are you planning the Dany Dragon City reveal? I am not sure yet. We have to do the Dany Karth chapter next, and fairly soon, after like after Davos. We're either doing Mel or we're doing Dany, which means you've got to have her talking to Quaithe. So it could either be Quaithe and reveal it that quickly, or it could be something where she searches for the House of the Red Door and she finds some of the missing men, because the loyal men and the wet nurse are all missing as characters. They could come back into the fold at some point and reveal Dany's true backstory. Um, so if not from Quaithe, and the only reason wouldn't do Quaithe is just that it seems a little early for the reveal. Maybe she should find the House of the Red Door first. But of course, there's always visions, visions and things like this, like dreams that can do this kind of stuff too. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to decide. Reveal it from Quaithe or reveal it from the house. I don't know. And the missing loyal men and the wet nurse. Stannis and Manderly fleet versus Vix and Rhaegal and Dany. We're specifically told that Manderly's fleet, even if he has good ships, they're all rivermen and they don't know how to navigate on the ocean. So their fleet sucks. They do not have trained men and they suck. So if they can get, if they're fighting on a river, maybe it'd be better. But you're talking about Victorian, they're Ironborn, man. They're gonna know how to crush everybody. And plus, if he's got a dragon and Dany, but man, it's funny because people made a lot about this Manderly fleet. Oh my God, he's got the fleet. He's got the fleet. Manderly specifically says that his men aren't trained, and you're like, well, I don't know what we're gonna do with them. I mean, we can get some people from point A to point B, but you're not gonna win any fucking sea battles with that shit, So, oh. I'm sorry, got a 40K bone to pick with you. You called Ice Melisandre a figurine last stream. They're miniatures. Figurines are porcelain. Huh. Are they always, though? I almost feel like miniatures should, have to be, remember where they're all, pewter or lead or something? Huh. Figurines. Is it? Are they really? I mean, you're right that I put in figurine, and are they? Can we ever find a figurine that is not porcelain? A statuette, special Indian human form. Are they always? Okay, usually made of clay or porcelain. I mean, okay, I'll accept that. Like, they at least have to be some sort of like baked, um, like earth product rather than like something smelted or plasticky. But damn, I never thought about that. I stand corrected. Sorry. Um, Trump has severe dementia, but he looks healthy physically. I don't know. Like, he can't even stand for very long. If you've noticed him on podiums and stuff, he has to like lean against it, um, constantly and stuff like that. I mean, he's not healthy. Um, do I think he's going to die in 4 years? I don't know. Probably, probably not. But like, he's not healthy. He's fallen apart. I don't see him living much beyond 4 years, but um, which might be our saving fucking grace. Thank goodness we're mortals, and that these people die. Um, what do you think Trump's end goal is? I don't think he has an end goal. Um, I think he just. I mean, if I don't think he's smart, so I don't think there's any 5D chess master plan bullshit going on. Okay, I don't think anything like that. But if I'm going for like very simple plans, okay, he's shorted a bunch of stocks and wants to tank the economy. Like maybe. Um, he's creating a bunch of chaos in hopes that like chaos will lead to him having some good business decisions. He legitimately thinks like what he is doing is super popular and people are going to love him for it. And he doesn't. He's been sniffing his own farts and he's been surrounded by sycophants for so long that like that's what he believes. I mean, if you keep in mind, like, if say you're in a world where you're surrounded by sycophants and you only watch Fox News, like, how would you know? Wouldn't you eventually lose touch with like what's for the good of the people and not? So, you got to understand that like he's old, he's fucking old, and he's fucking nuts, and he's surrounded by sycophants, and you know so I don't know. I don't think he has a big like end goal. I don't think he has a master plan. I think he's just like thinks in these short term stints of like what I need to do. Well, Elon Musk is giving me a lot of money, so I'm just going to do whatever Elon says. The Heritage Foundation is giving me a lot of money, or they supported me, so I'm just going to do what they say. I think it's very simple. I don't think there's any complexity to it. I think he's just like likes power and money and feeling important, and he cruelly wants to like enact revenge on his enemies, and he this is how he sees it happening. You know, that's it. Um. Oh, can you make a playlist of all the Sweet Robin fanfic project prep videos where you describe an outline for what's next? Hard to find them all. Sure, I can do that. Um, in the end, that they're not always followed to the end. So I know some people like to compare, um, but yeah, I can do that. Yeah, manufactured crisis, so you can seize power. Yeah, or seize money, get more money. Um, your take on investing on Russian bonds till 28? I would not. I think that's a very risky. I think that's a very risky venture. Um, I had some investments that were I diversify my investments, and I had some investments. I was in a fund called like Emerging Europe, and I think Emerging Europe had like 25% of their money in Russia, and like when the Ukraine war happened, it just fucking the whole thing like tanked, and it's just like, pfft, you know, and you have no idea what's going to happen when you're investing in Russian bonds. Like for like, you have no idea if the Russian economy is going to collapse tomorrow. You have no idea if it's going to skyrocket tomorrow. You have no idea if Trump is going to die tomorrow. You have no idea if Trump is going to change his mind about Russia tomorrow. Like, it's like you would never want to put your money in something that you have no idea on the future. It's just that point it's gambling, right? When you have like no idea about it. So there's no future on that. Like, you have no idea if like you may make $1 million, you may lose everything. So you have no clue. Like none of us have any clue. So it would not be an educated investment. That would be a gamble. The Winds of Winter implies that there's no historical parallel for what's coming, unlike the other titles. Is George implying the others never invaded before? It's all a collective memory of futures past. That's very right. That's very Wheel of Time-ish, right? That like, in fact, there was never like that. The long night never happened. It was actually a memory that was put back there to make people think that. Well, the Wheel of Time, I mean, it's happening over and over again, but like this idea that they're actually talking about a future event in the past. I mean, that's a fun idea. That's a very fun idea. That in fact, there was never a long night. That we're all just talking about the future. It's not even in a sense that the past happens in a circular formation. That this was just like, it's one event, but it just hasn't happened yet. So that they've been talking about prophecy for or maybe they were talking about prophecy for so long that prophecy became history, and they switched it up. It's a lot to make of the word "the." A Game of Thrones, a Clash of Kings, a Storm of Swords, a Feast for Crows, the Winds of Winter. It does sound strange to say "a Winds of Winter," or Winds of Winter. Winds of Winter sounds fun, but all of a sudden you don't get that same meter. Maybe. Did the others build the wall? I think originally my idea was that human society was more advanced in the past, technologically, and since then they've devolved. They've had an interregnum, and they don't understand their previous technology. And that explains Storm's End and other places, the Sand Ship and what have you. And George has written these kind of stories all the time. Like, for instance, I mean, Windhaven. Windhaven is about a world where they all came to the planet through solar sails, and they don't know how solar sails work, and now they're using them to deliver mail to each other by flying. So so we don't necessarily need the others to build it, because we have there's other things south of the wall that are already pretty futuristic. Let me grab more water, because this is out of control. All right, peeps. So I don't think you necessarily need the others, but you know, it could be. If it is like a peace program, maybe they could have done it together, or like an agreement. I mean, that gate is there, but maybe the humans. I don't think the humans have probably built it. They probably just more better technologically advanced back then. Okay. Andor should have Cassian and Mon Mothma banging. I wouldn't be against that. I mean, some hotties. But man, Star Wars is so fucking weird with its portrayals of sex, right? Like, so here's our new Mon Mothma. But like, because on the one hand, there she is. There's our new lady, and a handsome woman, and then Cassian Andor. Let's get a look at him. They gave him a pretty hot love interest, though, right? Have to look up the. I mean, I would be totally for that plot, like the two of them banging. That'd be great. Why not? Having something like not so sterile being the Star Wars universe. Because I mean, what the sex they have is like slave girls at Jabba's palace, and is that about it? Is that like the only mention of sex in the entire Star Wars universe? Is like some slave girls at Jabba's palace? Is that the only sex that goes on? I'm trying to think of like anything else. Do we have anything else? I'm even going through it. Like, people were talking about how in Ahsoka they at least should have had like some sort of like sexual tension between Sabine and Ezra, like something. But then there was nothing in the end. It is just a very sterile, sexless world outside of Jabba's palace. I think that, yeah, maybe, Jabba did nothing wrong. He's like the only sexually liberated one in the entire galaxy. Like, he's actually like I want some fanfic about like how Jabba is actually like trying to liberate the whole galaxy sexually. Because everybody else like is just so stiff. I don't even know how. You barely see children anywhere. I mean, I don't know how they're they're reproducing, all like clones, I guess. Um, Hey, first time on stream. I think there's some connection with Elden Ring um, DLC. Basically, a lordling resurrects his half brother to use as a consort, and then creates world peace with mind control. So there are several endings to Elden Ring, right? And some of them, it's funny because one of them is, yeah, like one of the sort of endings that I've theoretically come up with, that like somebody enters the werewood net and then like mind controls everyone to create like a kind of communist society in the end. And that turns out to be like one of Elden Ring kind of endings. There's a lot of similarities in Elden Ring with Ice and Fire. I mean, the most obvious being um, the uh, the most obvious being that the setting is a tree that takes in souls and is um, you know, it being pretty much exactly the same. But there's a lot of other things like dead festival cities, and a lot of like um, wolf and lion imagery and shit like this, and old gods and things like this. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think how long it is. There about 2 years ago, I looked into the Elden Ring lore fairly um, fairly seriously, and I wanted to do a video, and then I never got around to doing the video. Maybe I should have, but I think maybe I went against it because it was very hard to dissect what was George's work versus what was a bunch of writers who were trying to write like George, or just general fantasy tropes that end up getting used all the time. I mean, even with the tree with the souls thing is fucking used all the fucking time in fantasy. I mean, it's in Elden Ring, it's in Avatar, or whatever. So, um, but I do joke that like, yeah, you hired George to write if you hired George Lucas to do Elden Ring, he'd come in with a battle station that can destroy planets as his idea. You know, George comes in and is like, yeah, I've got this idea. There's a tree and there's souls in the tree. And like, thanks, George. Thanks. Um, I don't see how Bran lobotomizing humanity is bittersweet. It seems just as nihilistic as the others, killing everyone, and validates Bloodraven's ethos. Um, I mean, it depends. It depends how. I didn't suggest lobotomizing. The idea is that um, they change their existence to be more hive minded. Um, the this is the big difference. You know, like uh, like when some people think that collective existence is somehow loss of yourself, like you got to stop like that immediate like thought, right? Like you're collectivizing doesn't mean you lose yourself, you're just blending yourself, right? And just as everybody else is blending it as well. um but some people really view this in life in general, that I have to be an individual. I have to live in the woods by myself because I don't want to do anything in the community, because somehow you're going to lose your own existence or something by being part of the community, which is ridiculous. Like, we're all part of a community. We all blend to some existence, like, um, I live in existence where, you know, I partner with my wife and my children, and we do all sorts of things that she wants to do or that my kids want to do. Does that mean like, oh, I've lost my fucking my fucking agency? I've caved and given up. I've lost myself. No, I live a more collective existence. That's all of us do this. We all have to wear pants, right? Like, but you've lost your agency and a piece of yourself. Like, I guess. So it's the same thing though. If you take it a step further and be like, okay, now rather than just blending your lives together, you're blending your consciousness together. Now, yes, you're being less of an individual, but you know, it's not lobotomizing. You're not deleting yourself. What when I have a family where I live collectively, I'm not deleted. Like so. Mm-mm-mm. All right, man. Oh my God, back at this like fucking like Biden stuff, like the Biden Israel stuff is just like ridiculous. Like, and it's so fucking like dangerous because it's like you motherfuckers divided, like pulling off any votes from Kamala and leaving us to like have our society die because they throw around fucking shit like that, like Biden himself fucking went to Gaza and started murdering children. That was all fucking Biden. And Kamala too, she was eating babies, man. Like, oh my God. Therefore, we need to hand over the world to a fucking Nazi fascist who wants to actually actively push everyone out of fucking Gaza and make them all into refugees and build hotels there and doesn't believe the Palestinians should have a state and like is calling anyone that protests like in favor of the Palestinians terrorists and wants to arrest them and deport them. Like, thank fucking goodness we had these people calling Kamala a genocider. Thank fucking God. Thank God we got Trump into office because he's so much fucking better. Oh my God, the world is so great. You guys, these fucking like virtue signaling motherfuckers, like you really did it, Oh, it makes me so fucking angry. Just like stop like Obama's fault for being bipartisan voted 57. Like fuck off, dude. Like no, 57 Senate seats isn't enough. You need 60. Like all this shit, man. Like just fucking like people are being so fucking dumb. You can't even fucking like do math. He had fucking 57 seats. That's not 60. That's not fucking 60 seats. What do you need to fucking pass a law? You need 60 seats. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my God. Like government agencies don't pay taxes. Government agencies don't pay taxes. Oh my God. When things are Republicans' fault, they're not secretly Democrat fault. Like you're not being clever and like insightful by somehow like twisting the fucking script on something that's very clear. Like, oh my God, this kid, he ate a peanut butter sandwich and he died of a peanut allergy. No, it wasn't the peanut allergy. It was in fact the bread allergy. Aha! No, you're not fucking clever. It was the fucking peanut allergy. It was the fucking peanuts. Like, don't fucking flip the script when there's no fucking script to flip. It's the Republicans' fucking fault. It's Trump's fucking fault. It's not fucking the Democrats' fault. Stop fucking blaming the Democrats. The Democrats aren't as bad as the Republicans. They're nowhere close. They're 1%. They're 1/1000th. They're not doing genocide, okay? Like, fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Oh my God. Let's fucking ruin America. Let's ruin America, man. Ruin America because I can't tell the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. I can't fucking tell the difference. Oh my God. This is broccoli and this is rat poison. They're both yucky. It's like this is fucking why the world is dying. Okay, because people are this fucking dumb. They can't tell the difference between broccoli and rat poison. They can't fucking qualitatively judge the difference between broccoli and rat poison. In their fucking binary fucking like mouse-sized heads, they think broccoli, yucky. Rat poison, yucky. And they can't fucking tell the difference. They can't do a qualitative judgment. They can't have any intellectual like analysis. They can't do any fucking research. They're so fucking lazy. Like, even though I fucking told people on the stream a fucking million times about fucking foreign military financing and how things work. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter because you can just pick your truth. You can pick the tweet that you liked. Truth doesn't fucking matter in this fucking world. This is why fucking America is dying. It's assholes like this that can't tell the difference between broccoli and rat poison. Retired with 20 years in the military, U.S. Marine Corps, Navy, born in Texas, raised Baptist. Goes without saying I'm liberal atheist and I can't stand Trump. Thank you, Nuke Marine. The funniest thing about the Marine Corps, and I've met a lot of Marines in my life, is how different they are. It is amazing. It's actually one of the reasons I really like Generation Kill, is that it captures what a diverse hodgepodge of individuals like choose the Marine Corps, and for the various reasons, and that's the real that's a really great series, Generation Kill, and my boy PJ's in it, but like it's there's so many different types of people that join the Marines. Do you think Elon's Rand Paul government must shrink quote hints anarcho-capitalism, or is it a circadian BSing period thing? What's up with stopgap bills? The stopgap bill is weird. It's really fucking weird. I'll start with that. So a continuing resolution means that if something is not mentioned in the bill, it continues at past funding, which is really weird right now because you have the executive branch doing illegal things like shutting down agencies and claiming that we're just not going to do this anymore, like USAID. But that CR that just passed fully funded didn't mention USAID, which means USAID just got fully funded. So we're back at the situation of like, well, the executive branch is supposed to execute the law of the legislative branch, the legislation, right? And this is very simple, right? The executive branch executes the legislation. So the legislation says, we want USAID, and the executive is just going, yeah, we're not going to do that, which is weird, right? So you'd think that eventually court cases would get in there and say, no, executive, you have to start spending this fucking money. Congress fucking funded it. It depends. Maybe it might go all the way to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court might change the world because it's 3 Trump appointees, So it's weird, but yeah, we've been doing continuing resolutions have been like the world for the past like 15 years. We haven't had a proper budget in over 15, 20 years. So it's getting really close. It's been a long time. We've just been doing CRs. So the current CR bill, it was bad, but it wasn't actually that horrible. Like I was for I would probably be for the shutdown, but like, it's not I understand, the spineless Democrats' position. Like, I understand it. Like, well, we're keeping things open. And if everything was shut down and Doge was still going around, there wouldn't be people there to stop them from destroying everything. Like, I kind of get it. It was 2 bad situations. It was a heads I win, tails you lose situation. So it's like the CR got passed. It's a bad CR, but like, it fully funds everything that they're trying to dismantle, which is weird, which is fucking weird. All these things were like, oh, Voice of America gone, Department of Education gone. That was all fully funded, all fucking fully funded. So we're in this weird situation. But as anarcho-capital, like, here's the thing: all the isms that you're talking about, like, yeah, it's what someone as dumb, and Elon Musk is dumb. Like, something. It's things that Elon Musk. It's like meme level understanding of principles and taking those to heart. So when like Elon Musk goes on Joe Rogan and says like, oh, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. If you've spent 30 minutes researching Social Security, you would discover that that's the dumbest shit you've ever heard. But if you just saw a meme of, hey, you know what, Social Security is fucking a Ponzi scheme, and you get to have that like statement that makes you think that you're smart when you fucking know nothing. That's the dangerous situation. So somehow, and I've seen Elon Musk speak about this, he's talked about the inefficiency of government in regards to the creation of wealth. Like, in an economic sense, say I'm running two businesses. I have a business that makes TV screens, okay? And one is run by the government, like in a Soviet system, and one is run by a private sector business. Guess which one's going to be more efficient? Well, the private sector one, right? It operates in an environment of competition. So of course it's going to be more efficient. But so he's taken that idea that the private sector is more efficient from the production of regular goods, and expanded it improperly to everything else. Because there's many things that the government does that can only uniquely do itself because it's the government. And there's many things that it does better than the private sector. This is the thing that people don't realize, right? But there's things that are inherently governmental. Like, I would say oversight of government contracts should be, war fighting. Unfortunately, both of those things, we're now going away from of those things. But I would argue that like oversight of government contracts, war fighting, oversight of health and safety, environmental standards, breaking up monopolies, all these things are fundamentally like inherently governmental, and you can't really have the private sector ever do it. And then there's things that it turns out the private sector, when you try the private sector to do it, the markets fail. I would say like Social Security is an example of this. You try this in the regular market, it just doesn't work. You need to have a public insurance system because there's a moral hazard. I would argue that medical is another one, that it's failing in America because it's too private, and that you need public medical, and that many countries have like come to that. But even beyond this, research and development, for example, much better. It's done much better by the public sector than the private sector, because the private sector is only interested in short-term profit. And so they're not going to be thinking about 10, 20, 30-year horizons with regards to research. So this is why all incredibly revolutionary ideas come from public sector research and public sector funding. Academia, all sorts of things the public sector can do better than the private sector. So because Elon Musk is so fucking dumb, he's taken this one idea of, production of goods, the private sector is more efficient than the public sector. And he's expanded it to everything. And I've heard him talk about this, that the public sector is not good at handling wealth and money, and therefore it should not have it. And he's an idiot because he's not done 30 fucking minutes of research. He just has a meme level understanding of shit. So, I mean, Do I think Rand Paul is in the same kind of boat? I kind of do. I mean, I think most libertarian thinking kind of people like Rand Paul are really dumb and don't think about any of that. I mean, if you want to put a name to it, you can put a name to it, but I do think it's just like idiots with really basic level knowledge about stuff thinking they're really fucking smart, who haven't done any fucking research or critical thinking or questioning of their own beliefs for more than 30, 45 minutes. Is, you know, that is my guess. Chaos is louder. I turn on my computer and I see that Ygritte was pregnant. Another target bites the dust. Yes. I think the election was stolen in 2024. I said it. It depends what you mean by stolen. I mean, if you're talking about like a person with hundreds of millions of dollars coming in and like funding misinformation in lots of environments, I suppose, you know, but it's. Honestly, given his health, I don't see Trump living out the year. We might find that President Vance will really be like. I mean, we can only hope. We can only hope. We'll see what Vance does when on his own before he's like. I mean, he's such a suck up that it's like we don't know what he believes. So, if Trump died in office, what would MAGA do? Well, obviously the conspiracies would come out of the woodwork and they'd be like, oh, he must have been murdered, right? If only he'd fucking died of COVID, man, what a fucking better world we'd be in. But but after the conspiracy theories kind of go away, the MAGA movement probably falls apart because you got to remember, like, I mean, not completely, but it gets a big setback because he there's just nobody as charismatic as Trump for these people. Like Vance is just yuck and icky. No one likes him. You know, like you still have right-wing media and all of that supporting people, but they don't have that front man. They don't have the Trump, right? So it's you know, so that's the thing. So we can only hope. We can only hope. But for the good of society, that he comes to a painful death by natural causes. Oh, there was almost a romantic subplot between Finn and Ray, but for some people, they just don't like that for some reason. By the way, I am so done with like anybody talking about or complaining about like race swapping or gender swapping in fiction, or any of that, or like a romance, someone being of one race or whatever. I'm just done. I'm just like, at this point, I'm just like, look, the word woke is the N word now. Like people really fucking use it as the N word now. Like I just saw like people complaining about Bill Burr, and they were like Bill Burr and his woke wife, and I was like, oh, so now the word woke is literally just the N word. Like it made no sense, but I was like, his woke wife. Oh my god! Like, so it's just like I do not care. Like it's like I do not care anymore ever. Like I now see entertainment like seeing a high school play. If you need to cross gender, cross race, cross age, cast anyone, I do not care. It doesn't take me out of it. You can act your way out of any paper bag. It doesn't, like, you can, acting will always make something work. A good script will always make something work. I do not care about it. But man, you're right though. But yeah, like that they somehow ended the Rey Finn romance, made Star Wars so fucking sterile. Was Jabba a freak? Because Leia is hot. No more sex games. I don't know if, like, the thing is, Star Wars never, like, even before it was Disney, right? The prequels barely have any sex in it. Did you enjoy or remember your day, March 15th? Oh, is this a reference to Dreams of Ghosts and Indians? Um, there's a scene where uh, the character is like, he's really trying to have him savor the moment, and he's like, "You need to remember this day." He's like, "Okay, I think I got it," because like the day is literally the Ides of March, and he's like, I think I'm gonna, um, I think I got it. I do get a kick out of people mentioning like Ghosts and Indians references. Dems need to step up, though. If all Dems in Congress had Preston's energy, it'd be different. Absolutely, Dems need to step. All right. Again, dude, I'm telling you right now, okay? If I and I'm this is gonna be like a future stream thing, okay? Anybody that like calls like Democrats genociders, like you're getting banned for it. Like I'm just done with it, okay? For a number of reasons. One, like, look, I've been so incredibly pro-Palestinian in all of my discussions, okay? But you're misusing the word genocide, okay? Like, you can't just call every fucking war a genocide, okay? Because every war, by the definition that they're using here, is a genocide. If you have two nation states with two different cultures, because all wars are between two different factions, either that are divided religiously, racially, ideologically, there's some sort of group, right? And so one is always trying to kill the other group, okay? So like if you're basing something that loosely on the geno part, then like it ceases all meaning. And then the side part, yeah, you're killing people, but like when I think of genocide, I think of like someone trying to eradicate an entire group. For instance, like if we're taking the term ethnic cleansing, Trump is talking about ethnically cleansing Gaza, pushing all of the Gazans out. That's ethnic cleansing. Genocide, I think of people thinking I'm trying to kill off a significant number of people to change policy or to change demographics or something like that. Like, when you think naturally of like, Hitler killing Jews during the Holocaust. The thing is like having 50,000 like Gazans die is horrible, but you're not denting the population in any respect. You're not changing policy in any respect. It's not like, so in that sense, like it's not an eradication, like at that point. It's horrible killing. Don't get me wrong. It's horrible killing, but it's not an eradication. And it's also like Geno part is just odd. Like, what do you mean? Like, are you just saying like the Gazans aren't genetically different from anybody around in the area? I mean, and it's like, are they not really targeted because they're specifically Muslim, because they are Arab Israelis? I mean, and Muslim Israelis, but like they're getting targeted because they are of a different political group. They are citizens. They don't have Israeli citizenship and do not want to be given citizenship for religious and ethnic reasons. All very complicated, but like, it's not genocide. Like, it's just not fucking genocide. It's just fucking mass murder and killing of people. And I get, people give me a lot of shit for this because it's like imagine like, you know, you go downtown and, you know, you're beaten mercilessly with a bat. Okay. And you're just, you know, your skull is broken, your arms are broken, and your legs are broken. And then someone's like, man, I'm so sorry you were raped. And you're like, no, I mean, what happened to me was really fucking horrible, but like, it's not fucking rape. Like, I was beaten mercilessly, but why are you using a specific word? Because like, I would, like, by the definition that people use the genocide for, every fucking war is genocide. So it's just meaningless. It's fucking meaningless to use the word. So this just gets me, man. Like, it's just so fucking weird. Okay. So like, do Democrats contribute to war? Yeah, the American government contributes to war. Always has supported Israel. Okay. But like singling out Democrats and singling out Biden had one specific function, and that was to elect Trump. Singling out, I'm saying that again because it's really important. Singling out Democrats and singling out Biden about Gaza had one function, and that was to elect Trump. Because all of those weapons were supported by were previous Republican and Democrat administrations, like bipartisan. So why single out the Democrats? Why are you singling out Democrats? You're singling them out for one particular reason, and that's to elect Trump. Oh my God. We can talk politics, but we need to swear. Oh, my virgin ears. Oh, my virgin ears. The world is dying. We have... Oh, no. Oh, my ears. This rant deserves to be clipped out and posted on its own. The problem is I'm not articulate when I do my rants. Anarcho-capitalists is offensive to anarchists. It's also offensive to like true capitalists, because true capitalists know, like, if you actually like read Adam Smith, like, he's big into government intervention. But do I think Schumer did the right thing? I think he did the wrong thing, but I think it was a close call. I don't think that like I think that he probably did the math and realized that he was going to lose, and he wanted to take all of the blame or something, or something strange like that. But I mean, you know, all the savings that Doge finds and cuts. There's no savings. There's no savings with Doge. This is another thing about like that they're finding the stuff. They're finding the money and pocketing the cash left behind. So that's not how government works. Okay, so if you were, now I have to explain, like, so Doge literally can't save any money because that's not how like government works. So with a business, for example, all right, this is how people kind of envision things. Okay, say you have a business, and say as part of that business, you you have a you're spending $100,000 on gasoline for your automobiles. Okay, and you say, okay, I want to save money, and let's just not drive the cars, and we will save them $100,000. That's pretty simple. That will work. It'll probably destroy your business, but you will save that $100,000. Okay. Government's a little different. Say you have a fleet of government of stuff. The government obligates, well, Congress writes a law that says we're going to spend $1 billion. And then there's an appropriation where they kind of get into the specifics. Well, that $1 million, like 100,000 of that $1 million is going to be spent on counterterrorism efforts. Another 100,000 is going to be spent on demining efforts. Another 100,000 is going to be spent on community outreach. Another 100,000. Okay, so now it's appropriated, and now it gets sent off to they'll tell which agency. Okay, $100,000 we're going to get sent. That's going to get sent to USAID for community outreach. Okay, then USAID takes that $100,000 and says, okay, we're now going to apply that to a program. So this $50,000 is going to go to, Mozambique community development and economic, partnership. Another 50,000 has to go to, Madagascar. Community outreach, whatever. Okay, so now Elon Musk comes in and says, I don't want them spending money on fucking Mozambique and Madagascar. I'm just going to cut that fucking program. Okay, you cut that program. The problem is USAID has still been obligated that money, and the executive has still been appropriated that money, and the law still said that the money should be spent. So you haven't spent anything. It's the equivalent of saying, like, say someone gives you $100 gift card and you were thinking about spending, $10 of it on a burrito, and then someone says you can't spend it on a burrito. Well, you still have the fucking gift card. That gift card hasn't been refunded. The gift card still exists. Like, the money still by law has to be spent. It just can't be spent on the thing that Doge destroyed. So you can't save money on the executive side, at least not to any significant degree. Theoretically you can break the law long enough and not spend the money, and it eventually gets returned to the general fund. But that you'd have to break the law for the entire cycle until the money expires. A lot of times this money has like 5-year spend time on it. So anyway, it's fundamentally not how money works. Oh my God. Holy shit, Bricktop. You are so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. Okay. And really, you're telling me I don't know shit. Okay, dude, I used to work for fucking Social Security Administration. Do you want me to fucking explain this to you? Okay? Social Security can never run out of money because current beneficiaries are paid by current taxpayers. So as long as a taxpayer exists, a beneficiary is going to get some amount of money. That's how it fucking works. The big myth that people have is that there's some sort of big fund that, like, people have put money into, and that the money is going to get drained out and then we won't have any, and it's broke. We don't have any Social Security left. That's not how it fucking works. A current taxpayer pays current beneficiary. So you will always have Social Security. The question is how much. So there was a period of time where the taxpayers were paying more money than the beneficiaries were taking. And so they created this trust fund, which was really just an accounting trick. Okay. And then the trust fund gets depleted at some point. The trust fund is going to be depleted according to the actuaries in about the year 2038 or so. At that point, under current law, Social Security can be funded, beneficiaries will receive 80% of the promised benefit. 80%. Now, no one's going to like a 20% cut in their Social Security, but 80% is not fucking nothing, is it? I mean, it's amazing, Bricktop, that you can come in here and just fucking say this shit. Like, I fucking worked for the fucking agency. Like, you think I didn't fucking have you and you just come in here and be like, no, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. I'm sorry, dude. You didn't know what you're fucking talking about. You can research this anytime. Why don't you go to SSA Actuaries and fucking research this? You can go to the SSA website. They actually have a question. They actually have a Q&A section with these common myths that you can look at. If you spent fucking 15 minutes, but you didn't. I'm not even a Republican. And you fucking believed this shit. You believed the myth that Social Security is in trouble. It's not. Social Security is fine. Fine. Man, I'm getting angry tonight, man. Fucking man. Fucking this is the thing. 15 fucking minutes of research. 50, go to the fucking ssa.gov website. Does anyone ever do that? Or are they just too busy watching fucking... Or did Doge already destroy it? It's much simpler when I worked than when I worked there. Benefit telecalculator. Actuary trust fund. Let's see if we can find this. Here we go. This took me, let's see how oh, look. Let's go here, because this took me so fucking long to find, man. This was really fucking hard. Okay. So look, they have the summary of the fucking actuarial status of Social Security Trust Fund. Oh, geez. Oh, man. Due to unanticipated strong economic performance through 2023, the trustees have increased the assumption level of labor productivity. Let's see, they have a deficit of 9. So let's see here. When is the trust fund exhaustion? Trust fund, the projected reserve depletion rate of the combined OSDX trust fund is 2035. Oh, so I got that one correct. And a year later than the report reported. And then, what did they say? They say then, what percent of the benefits? Oh, here we go. Oh, I shortchanged them. I said 80%. It's actually 83%. Eventually, by 2098, it'll decline to 73%. So here it is on your fucking SSA website. It took me fucking wow. I mean, it took me, what, 2 minutes to find this? 2 minutes? That the trust fund goes until 2035. At that point, they'll have 83% of your funding. And then by the year 2098, you will have 73% of promise. Now, keep in mind, the promise increases at wage rate, not inflation. So a lot of times you're like, oh, that's not very much money. Well, it's not that bad, actually. even to have a 20%, 23% cut. But man, you know, it's right here, man. You could have just fucking come here, SSA.gov. Could have fucking taken your 5 fucking minutes, man. But this is why the whole fucking country is falling fucking apart. Because people aren't willing to do a goddamn second of fucking research. And I'm sure what's going to come back is, oh, you believe government websites? Oh, you believe what the man is telling you? You know, it's like, it's something like that'll come back to me. Oh, God. Fucking A. Fucking A. It's just fucking do fucking, like, believe some, like, just fucking do a little bit of work. Just do a little bit. Just do a little bit of research. Just a little bit. Fucking A. Fucking A. Chuck Schumer betrayed the Democrats. I understand the feeling. I wish he didn't. I wish he didn't join it, but but it's like I'm not like completely ruined. When is Palestine a recognized nation state? Well, the UN recognizes them as a observer status, and the Biden administration was for the two-state solution, meaning they wanted to work towards a Palestinian state. The Trump administration does not believe in a Palestinian state, and so so it's somebody else mentioned 75% of the UN observes them. Oh, that's nice. Eh? See, there we go. These things, man. These right-wingers are completely obsessed with the idea of like they're completely obsessed with this idea that relationships with women are about some sort of like political or like power situation. Like this idea, this guy's like essentially being like, oh, I'm getting cucked, right? Because I'm a liberal, They're like right wingers are really obsessed with this idea, which is quite backward because obviously women are more liberal than men. You're much more likely going to connect with a woman if you're liberal than if you're conservative. But as if there's like some woman sitting at home being like, oh man, my husband, he sure is weak. I wish I had a fascist I could fuck. And she like goes off to it like bang a fascist. Like what, like, or whatever, like, or like, oh, my husband's so weak. Or it's like a race thing. Like, oh, my husband's so weak. I need to go off and bang a black guy or something. They're like, the right wingers are obsessed with this fucking idea. They're really sexually like screwed up because you don't understand like how relationships work or like what's in women's minds. Like, do you think women are sitting around being like, man, I want a man who is like more right wing, like less compassionate. I wish he was totally into like prison camps and like just deporting illegal aliens like all the time. Like that's what gets me wet. Like what do you think women like? Because I can tell you what women like. I know exactly what women like. Okay, I've been on this planet a while, and I'll tell you what women like. I've mentioned it before on stream, but I know I will write it here, and because women are usually like, uh-oh, what's coming? What's coming? What do you mean you know what women like? Okay. Because all women are the same. And I will tell you what all women want. Okay? Right here. Okay? There it is, motherfuckers. That's what they're really interested in. Okay? Yeah. I know. Do any women disagree? Any women disagree? Any women disagree here? But it's really like, it's funny because like these right wingers, they think they like are getting us. Like they think they're like owning the libs by like being like, oh yeah, dude, you're getting cucked unless you go right wing. You're gonna get cucked unless you go right wing. And you're like, you have no fucking clue like what women care about in relationships. You have no fucking clue what it takes to be like in a relationship and make it work for years and like, have a family and things like that, like you think it's like, oh, you know what I need to do is be a fucking Nazi and that'll keep my woman here. Like, oh man, dude, like you got like weird sex problems, man. Weird fucking ideas. Oh, have you heard of Curtis Yarvin? Vance quotes him. Oh no, I've not. This is this thing of when like, oh god, I think I have maybe heard. Oh my gosh, he argues for an American monarchy. Uh, this is quite disgusting. Wow. Neo-monarchism, anti-democracy. Oh my God. Vance really, oh God. Yeah. That's, yeah, we're at an end. We're at an end. Yeah, this is Brack. This is the thing is, I agree with you, Brack, is that I've heard liberals repeat Republican propaganda, not even like knowing that they are, and it happens all the time. Like during the booming economy under Biden, people being like, "Oh, in this economy, like we need to do this and this and this," and like admitting that the economy was bad when it wasn't. It was great. It was a great economy, but it's just these little things. So Social Security being in trouble is the biggest fucking lie. It's because they want to dismantle it and they want to take that money. They want to not pay that. Well, not take that money because it doesn't exist, but they don't want to pay that tax. They don't want to pay those taxes. They want to get rid of the Social Security tax. Or they can do the private accounts thing, which is something that Bush tried to push, which would, pumping money into the stock market. Pumping state money into the stock market. Fascism is on the rise all around the world. Is World War coming? Can it be prevented at this point? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if World War. I think Civil War. Maybe Civil War is before World War. But it's hard to say. I mean, I'm very pessimistic. I'm very sad. I'm very worried about all of this. But it's I hope that something can be turned around. The unfortunate thing is when fascism was on the rise last time, the Americans came in and stopped it, and now who's going to stop it? Who's going to stop the fascism? I don't know. Like it took an external force, you know, and it took like a complete change of the education system in Germany. Like there were polls about Nazism, and the older generation never changed. You know, they just eventually died off. You know, like, and the new generation took over and it had good education, so the new Germans are more open minded. But yeah, it's really yeah, you know, I worry. Thank you, Mount Ago Crag. The existential drill is weird. So you're liking the DR? How you liking it? It's a bit. DR can be actually a little isolating in that the traffic's really bad, so you can't really get anywhere. So you can't really go out and see very much. So yeah, it's fine. The people are friendly. Every day sunny. You know, I live a pretty blessed life, man. So I really shouldn't complain about anything in my personal life. Is it true Elon had a botched penile enhancement and now his junk no longer works? Probably. Who knows? I mean, go ahead and spread that. It doesn't matter now, right? Because he spreads so much misinformation. What I think has probably happened to him is that like he, you know, one of his kids is trans, and I think it just like he just couldn't handle it and he fucking went off the deep end. You know, that's it. You know. Women like when you listen, real low bar. That's the fucking thing, right? The thing is the bar to be successful with women and to be like a good human being with them is so fucking low. And despite being so fucking low, it's amazing how many people fail. How many people fail on it. It's amazing how many people fucking fail on these real basic things. Like, you know, like men kind of, they get obsessed of these things. Like, you know, it's not like when we're online, like we men don't see all these like penis enhancement ads, like everywhere, like thinking that like that all women care about, all they really want is a huge dick, you know, and like, oh no, you know what they really want? They want fancy cars. Oh, you know what they really want? They want some guy with like huge biceps and pecs. And you're like, no, they don't really care about any of that, right? They just kind of want somebody that's, you know, kind, little smart, little funny, someone who really listens. That's about it, you know. Someone who's not addicted to video games, you know, like it's not that much, man. It's not that fucking much. It's not that fucking much. Oh man. What about men that are deaf? They can listen with their eyes. Oh, they don't care what women want. That's why they want to take away their rights. Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think they fundamentally do not understand women because they've never listened to one. Like they've never, you know. Someone who literally listens and talks about their own feelings clearly. That's true. That's true. I used to complain about a guy, all women being gold diggers. You know, it's not that. Here's the other thing: women are obviously quite diverse. You know, there's 4 billion of them. There's a lot of differences. And that's the other thing is like even the joke of someone who really listens. Obviously, not all women care about that. Like obviously, but you know but this idea that all women are anything, all women are gold diggers, like, oh my God, like, who are you hanging out with? And the thing is like, it's not like I wasn't a young man, young inexperienced man at some point. Like, I remember going, I went through a really bad relationship, and uh, I definitely had these ideas about like what you need to do to maintain respect in the relationship and stuff like that. And then I got into the next relationship, and the girl was wonderful. This is not even my wife, but my wife is wonderful. But like the relationship I got into after this bad one, like she was just like, no, your previous girlfriend, she was what we call a fucking idiot. Like she was just like how does she not see all of these good qualities of you, like, and only think about like this kind of stupid thing? And like she's like, that girl's an idiot. Like that's just like you were just dating an idiot. Like I was like, oh. Anyway, she was great, and she really opened my eyes and made me more self-confident, and just being like, no, so like, because I was like, oh, all some women, they don't know what they want, and she's like, no, I know exactly what I want. I want this, this, and this. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, okay, you're right. Okay, and then after her, I was like, oh, why did I date women like her? Because it didn't work out for professional reasons. We're going different places, but like, and so I started dating women. I started dating nice women, like they're nice women, just like some women learn to date nice guys. I'm not talking nice guys, I'm talking nice guys. But it's a thing, all women being gold diggers. Oh man. Do I think the world is going right, politically speaking? I think propaganda is capturing people and organizing people. I think that I don't think people necessarily change their minds too much, but I think it's about motivating and moving bodies that already exist. This is why I get so angry about splitting the Democrats and weakening the Democrats. We exist. We have the numbers. We've always had the numbers. We've always been the majority. But we keep getting divided because motherfuckers come in here with their little pet projects and their lies and their Republican propaganda that's supposed to divide us. And and that's it. It's a divide and conquer strategy that they have. So I mean, I don't think the world is going right. I think that powers with money are supporting certain policies that they think will bring them lower taxes. That billionaires are dangerous, and they can move and affect vote through the propaganda that they push out, through the organization and such. So I don't think that the world is necessarily changing. I just think that I don't think that we're in some sort of natural movement as humanity. I think it's specific, deliberate actions from billionaires. We sit there and we're like, well, the whole country is moving right. Well, at the same time, it took a bunch of. Is it a coincidence that the president's a billionaire and is being controlled by another billionaire, and the newspapers are owned by the billionaires? Like, is that a fucking coincidence? What does the Republican Party look like post-Trump? Does someone else pick up the mantle? Do they prop up Barron in 20 years? No, I don't think any of the rest of the Trump family has Donald's charisma. I don't think anybody in the Trump family is successful. Can be successful like that. Like you've seen like Don Jr. and Eric and Ivanka and whatever. I mean, they might be able to win like a representative like post or something, but they could never do presidency. So I don't know. If it's billionaires will find somebody else to prop up, but I don't think Trump or necessarily the MAGA movement has much future after Trump dies. But it doesn't mean our problems go away. It just means, the branding changes. Yeah, I saw that Yavin guy talking shit with the black leather jacket and long hair like he's Jack Kerouac wannabe. That's the grossness. Yeah, there's always like a shtick, right? Like, you'll find with these like right wingers that they always have to have some sort of like I'm cool shtick. All right, like they're very insecure and they want to be seen as hip. They think that they'll win people over with it. Like Elon Musk may win people over, but he's not winning it over with being cool. Nobody thinks Elon Musk's cool, but like that's not the thing that's winning him over. So, but they always try it, right? It's weird, very weird, because you see the people that are like completely uncool are just as effective. I mean, you can take Ben Shapiro, incredibly uncool individual that's not necessarily trying to be cool, wins him over anyway too, right? So what's the point of the long jacket and the leather, the long hair and the leather jacket? No, there's no wife in wonderful butt. I'd say my wife is wonderful, but she wasn't this person. That was it. Okay. Okay. But Elon Musk is ranked in Diablo 4. He's so cool, bro. I know. Like, how can people not look and see how ridiculous he is? Or maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't care. We've never seen inside Carmine's point of view. He could be Preston with a voice changer. That'd be really tough to pull off. Hey now, not all leather jacket wearers. Indiana Jones is cool, right? I think Ben Shapiro thinks sounding smart is cool. Well, maybe everybody has their shtick. I mean, Ben Shapiro just like, I mean, he does the fast talking thing to make people think he's smart when he's not that smart. He uses a lot of debate rhetorical devices. So, oh man, so good. Did I run off a lot of people here tonight? I hope I feel like did I scare everyone tonight? Carmine didn't even call in. He must have been But anyway, I've been on for a while. It's 12:37. I've seen Carmine. I know, dude. Carmine, call in for just a second if you're there, because I'm gonna go. I've been on for a while, but I'm gonna go to bed in a second. All right, man. All right, fine, motherfucker. Don't need you then. Fine. I'll go to bed then. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.